Right.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, well, welcome to Sunday morning or wherever you are at in the world. We're bringing something a little bit special for you here. We're bringing a ROM hack of Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars called Super Mario RPG Armageddon. This is a ROM hack created by Dark Kefka and Doomsday. They have put a lot of work into this category, a lot of work into this game, and we are excited. We have a very good runner here for you today. The actual second place runner of this category, Sawneyrath11, who will be bringing his run for y'all of Super Mario RPG Armageddon. We'll be running Smithy % today. The game has a very extensive post game with a lot of post game bosses, a lot of extra content, a lot of other stuff going on. But today we will only be doing the up to Smithy, so we'll be beating Smithy today.
Yeah, basically the normal game with all the reworks in it. You should notice this is version 10. There's a lot of different versions of this, so it's a really well worked out and well thought out ROM hack that has a fairly good balance to it and a different play style from regular Super Mario RPG.
So a brief introduction. I am Necrowind1. I'm the actual current world record holder of this category. And I will be doing commentary today because I just found out about this 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, I'm Sid. Sonny wrote me in on this, and it showed me this. This ROM hack's pretty cool. And basically, I'm like chat right now. So this is a new kind of experience, but hopefully you guys will like it.
Yeah. So the first thing to talk about SMRPG Armageddon is there are a lot of changes. There's a lot of different things that are going on with this game. A lot of small changes, a lot of very dynamic changes. Many of which I'll discuss as we go through the game. The differences between I used to run the vanilla version of this game as well, the Super Nintendo version of the game, and I'll be going over most of the differences as Sonny's playing through the game here. So whenever he is ready, we'll hop right into this and.
Count me in, guys. I'm ready to go.
Awesome.
3, 2, 1, go. So it's just going to be us for the period, most part here, just because of the way the delay works. So hopefully you guys will enjoy our soothing commentary. As Necro said, he knows a lot more about this game than me, so I'll just be kind of doing follow-up questions for the most part and helping out where I can. So I'm going to kind of let Necro take the lead as he feels fit.
So much to surprise, we've been working on this category, the version 10 category of Smithy %, for I want to say maybe about 2 years now.
Mm-hmm.
The category has taken a lot of different twists and turns along the way. When we initially started running or even routing this category, we thought that at best we were looking at a 330, 345 time, because the game is substantially harder in every conceivable way. Like, blocking in this game you cannot reduce damage to 0 when you block in this game. You can only reduce damage to 25% of a maximum attack. For example, if an enemy deals 100 damage, you can reduce that damage to 25 at the bare minimum. So you will take damage from every move unless it misses. And in normal mode, enemies do have a small chance to miss. It is not likely. It is not something you can ever hope for in a run. If it happens, great, but never hold your breath for it. But one of the first big changes is Rosalina is here to greet you. She's basically the in-game tutorial. She basically shows you that there are 2 timings behind every single attack. So when you use your fist, when you use your hammer, when you use your whatever weapons you might have, there are 2 timings for each of them instead of 1. And you'll notice that right here, when Sonny punches this Terrapin, he's hitting the A button once, and then he's hitting the A button again almost immediately afterwards to do this 200 damage. Slightly off timing, it would do 150 damage, and this fight would take an extra turn. But he got both perfect timings, both of the 200 perfect timings. These enemies have 500 HP each, so a perfect timed physical plus a time jump will do exactly 500 and push us into our level up screen.
And you'll notice that we got a slightly changed level up screen. This will make level ups a lot faster. But we also have timing for blocks as well. So there's two different timings. One that will actually get that quarter reduction and one that'll only get the half reduction. So since we're going to take damage no matter what, we really need to hit those sweet timings as much as possible so that we can stretch our HP as far as we need it to go. As you can tell, everything does a lot of damage, including us and the enemies. So every point counts.
All right, so there is a slight issue here already, actually, unfortunately, that he did level up HP on his first experience menu, which will change some of the numbers for us a little bit later in the run. So this is going to be, we're going to have to see a little bit of improv right at the gate.
Yeah, this hack actually has 50 levels, or no, it's back down to...
It is 50, yes.
It's okay, yeah. It was at 100 and it's back down to 50, which has the same amount of experience or stat bonusing over 50 rather than 100. But the stat boosts are a lot bigger, and as you do, you just stay away from health for the most part. You're only really worried about either physical / magic damage or a little bit of the defense, depending on what the levels hold. The curve is a little bit different than the normal, so taking the level up bonuses at the right time is really important. Missing one will never be like a deal breaker, but it does make things significantly harder.
Yeah, so from here on out, with the exception of a couple Malo levels, we should be exclusively leveling magic on every single level. The magic in this game does not scale. My bad. The magic damage in this game doesn't fluctuate.
Yeah.
The jump will always do set damage. The perfectly timed orbs, if you do the orbs correctly, will do set damage. Whereas our physical moves have a range of damage.
If you do any magic attack, it's basically going to be the same output of damage every time you do the same correctly perform the minigame. But if you correctly time a physical attack, there's a little bit of damage range. And because the numbers are so big, that damage range gets more and more the further we go in the game. So sticking with magic and having to deal with syrups to refill our FP is just a much better option than be like, well, I just missed by 500 damage. Yay!
Right. So yeah, a lot of the reasons we use magic, even though it is slower, obviously using magic is slower than physical damage, is a lot of the enemies, especially in the early game of this run, have elemental weaknesses that we capitalize on using Mario's range of spells. He actually gets all of the elemental spells in this game. He gets Fire Orb,
Lightning,
Ice Orb, Thunder Orb, and Holy.
Yeah.
So all of the... Ooh, I hear gameplay just got a lot louder. So yeah, basically, because Mario has access to all the magic, we'll be heavily relying on him for most of the game to inflict the status ailments of enemies. So not for too many spoilers, because we will get there. But for example, Mac is weak to thunder. Boyer, the arrow boss in Forest Maze, is weak to fire. Punchinello, the bomb boss in Moleville, is weak to ice. So on and so forth. So we use their elemental weaknesses, and Mario hits the highest damage on those bosses by like a considerable margin, by several thousands of damage.
Yeah, that's one of the nice things about the design of this. Super jumps are out and elementals in, so we have other ways to deal damage to the orbs that we were mentioning. We'll go over it a little bit more later. But a lot of this is paying attention to elemental weaknesses, and it's designed in a very good way where most of the time you will have the elemental weaknesses going into each and every fight, so that you actually, as long as you're paying attention, you'll have a chance. Like we mentioned, Rosalina is the kind of like tutorial character. Luigi also gives us some hints about enemy weaknesses and stuff if we talk to him, so that's why he's hanging out.
Really hope he remembers the Hyper Shroom. He did not.
It's gonna be one of those days, I guess. Yeesh.
Yeah, that is a problem.
The Hyper Shroom may sound like it's not an issue because it just heals, but the Hyper Shroom actually also gives an attack up. It's actually the best healing item in the game that heals all your HP and gives an attack up. So our damage here is going to be incredibly short. I'm not sure if we can push through this fight, unfortunately.
Yeah, missing the Hyper Shroom is a serious problem because we use So in the beginning of the game, before we get Gino, we don't have access to any boosting items, and by boosting items, I mean items that raise our base attacks. We use them because we only get access to 2 of them in the entire early game. We get access to a single Hyper Shroom and a single Energizer, and those are used for 2 very polarizing battles in Mac and Balome in the Kira sewers. So without both of them, those fights will be, substantially slowed down. I'm not even sure. Unless my math is off, I don't even think 9 jumps is going to kill him here, does it?
The problem is that we, run out of FP, right?
Yeah, he noticed the math. He was going to be, just short of killing Hammer with this jump.
Well, luckily, even if we do die here, we will face some time loss, but this ROM hack is very kind that it resets you to a checkpoint if you do die, which we didn't, which is nice. We can always head back for the Hyper Shroom if we really want to.
He's going to. He's probably just going to re-enter Mushroom Way, because that's just too important of an item to miss.
Yeah, that's why I mentioned it in chat, so hopefully he'll notice it. You may have noticed that we did actually take a fight there and run away, kind of randomly. Yeah, here he is. He's going to go grab it. There's actually a reason that we entered that fight and ran. Do you want to explain that?
Yeah, of course. So I've been running this game for well over a year and a half at this point, and along the way, I have made some very dumb mistakes. One of which is dying to that Hammer Bro fight a couple times. So, interestingly enough, there is a bug in this game, as most games have. The original has the max skip, and there's a series of glitches in most games that we know very well. Mario Super Stars Saga's got a ton of them. Super Mario 64, Mario 64, don't even get me started. That game has more glitches than Missing No and Pokemon.
Yeah. There's just some games that are broken beyond all repair.
Yeah, so most games are broken. This one actually is surprisingly very not broken, but the one thing I did manage to discover by being bad at the game, go figure, right, is if you die to a scripted encounter, and what scripted encounters are basically battles that trigger some sort of cutscene, some sort of action before and or after the event happens. So that would include the Terrapin fight, because you'll notice before the Terrapin fight in the Bowser's Keep, they did this little wind-up punch thing. That's kind of like a cutscene beforehand. The Goomba is another one, because when you fight the Goomba, you beat it. Toad does his whole, "Oh, thank you for saving me. Here's an item for your troubles." Basically, by running away or dying to one of those encounters, it does some sort of overflow with your frog coins. So you go from having 0 frog coins to the next highest bite size, which is 255.
Yeah.
And it actually gives us 255 frog coins just by running away from that encounter. The conditions, however, of doing so is you cannot get into any normal encounters before you make it there. So any of those encounters in Bowser's Keep, if you get into any of them, you must reset the run, because you won't have the frog coins to make the purchases later in the game.
Yeah.
So on and so forth. So
the frog coins will come up later, but as of right now, we have no means shop to spend them in. But we'll go over why they're so important later. I think the hard mode that you run usually has to do that twice, right? Because you need more frog coins.
We do it 3 times. So yeah, the hard mode category we do it 3 times. Yeah.
So yeah, there's the frog coins are nice. One of the other things that you may have noticed was the blue coin at the beginning. Those are actually galaxy coins. They're an additional currency. We'll only need about 10 of those, and luckily, since we need so few, we can kind of pick them up on the path. But yeah, so we have coins, which kind of has some value. The frog coins, which we have max of, and then we're going to be picking up a few galaxy coins over the course of the run to buy some extra stuff at the very, very end. So it's got some more dynamic routing too because of those currencies actually being added in, being so integral, rather than it's like, well, frog coins are neat, but I don't need them.
Yeah, so that shop that Sony just did is a basically there we pick up we pick up a couple extra maple syrups, and those maple syrups that he just purchased will actually last us all the way until Moleville. We do not buy more maple syrups again until we reach Moleville, which is about an hour into the game. Not an hour, probably like 50 minutes, 55 minutes into the game.
Yeah,
that's your FP healing item, and then we buy 2 vests, 1 wristband, and 1 crest. So the vests are a attack boosting and defense boosting armor. The wristband is an attack boosting accessory, and the crest is a magic boosting accessory. So Sony does his menu in Bandit's Way when he's doing a room transition. So you'll see he's going to put both vests on both characters, the wristband on Mario because as of now he will be our primary physical attacker, and the crest on Malo because he's our primary magical attacker because his physical attack hits like a wet noodle.
It's super important that we grab those two because with the numbers as high as they are, the damage kind of snowballs really quick. So we have to be very careful. And the main reason that Malo hits so poorly is he doesn't have a weapon right now. And like we said before, elemental affinity is super important. Unfortunately, we don't have any elemental affinities just yet outside of spells. So we're monopolizing the FP on a single character. Nice.
It's a shame the start of this run went so haphazardly because the rest of this has been gorgeous. His menu is flawless. His movement's been really good. His that flower room was incredible.
Yeah,
this has actually been a super sweet start.
It's not surprising. A little bit of arm spaghetti at the start of a marathon run, but he's doing a really good job grabbing it back on track, as he does very frequently. We're going to be grabbing the good old Star Murder Room. We're going to take a very specific amount of encounters here because we don't want to actually get the level yet if we can avoid it, and we want to get it after the boss fight because it really won't be that beneficial to have it right now.
Yeah, so we get 12. We get 12 bandits here. 12 is the ideal number. More or less isn't really a big deal. You can get 13, 14. It's not a crisis. 17 is what we'll call 17 is what causes you to level up though. So that's the number you don't want to hit.
Yeah.
But any number between 12 and 17, you're usually pretty good. That was a very good Croco chase. The RNG there was very favored. That's what you want to see. This fight sucks. I hate this fight as a speedrunner. So Croco has 9,000 HP here, so we want to. Oh, nice max roll. But Croco introduces bombs in this fight. He can throw a poison bomb, a sleepy bomb, or a mute bomb in this fight. All of which, with the exception of we want to see poison bomb. That's great. So you got the good RNG here and a miss. Wow.
So the poison bomb would lose a little bit of time for the poison animation, so the miss is kind of nice there. The mute, obviously, we don't want Malo to be muted so we can get the shockers out here. And if we get hit by this Sleepy, we're in a really bad spot. Because unlike other RPGs, we can't wake up our characters by hitting them. So we're at the mercy of Croco here to wake us up. Fortunately...
Yeah, that fight was insane.
That was a good one.
Yeah, so this fight can go wrong in probably 5 or 6 different ways. So he could sleepy bomb either character, which renders them useless. They have no actions, they have no turns, they can't do anything. He can mute bomb Malo, and mute bomb disables your use of magic in this run, and Malo's physical damage does 10 to Croco. It does next to nothing. So if he gets muted, he's basically out of the fight, and you have to solo the fight with Mario's hammer, which is incredibly slow. And then obviously any sleepy bomb is bad. And then Croco, so that was absurd. That was the task fight. And another catalyst here is Mario's damage ranges there range from 1,000 to 1,400. And because Croco has 9,000 HP, you need to hit on average 1200 with each damage, and let me tell you from experience, that does not happen very much. So he ended up getting really favorable damage rolls there and got through that fight incredibly well, so that was awesome.
The main reason Mallow is actually a linchpin in that fight is these first two bosses are both weak to lightning. Rocco's also weak to fire, but since we're going to put Mario on physical duty here, because we actually get a lightning elemental weapon, it'll make these areas a lot easier, so it's just faster to not have to juggle them around and deal with orbs.
Alright, so obviously, against these bodyguards, the reason we're doing this sidetracking is, if it's not, it might be a surprise, it might not be, I don't actually know. Mac is not skippable in this game. He is a forced fight. We must battle him, unfortunately, because you want to talk about a fight that's awful. Mac is...
Yeah, I mean, what we would give to just go back to being able to skip him.
Yeah, like in my opinion, and this is just one runner's opinion, Mac is the most difficult fight in the first like hour and a half of the game by like a country mile. He is absurdly hard. He has a lot of different things he can do. Blocking is mandatory in most of the game, but against Mac, it's like tenfold important.
Yep.
So, yeah, I'm gonna. Sony can't hear me, so I can't be much of a distraction. But Mac's gonna take a lot of funkin'.
You'll notice that our damage is kind of spiked here now that we got the Zap Knuckles here. That just having the electric element on our physical for Mario will really push his damage up to a nice amount, and then it also will allow us to like min-max with the shocker on Mallow. But as we mentioned before, we do have some issues with like characters getting muted, slept, that kind of stuff. Mac does have mute, so we have the same kind of issue going on here, that we have to roll a couple of dice and hope we get good luck. So Mac is a...
Yeah. By the way, sorry to interrupt. The RNG in this early game has been absurd. Like, these bodyguards are favored to use fire over physical attack. They're 2/3 to use fire and 1/3
very
to
slow.
on you. And fire is obviously a lot slower. They bounced on him 6 times out of 8, which is awesome. Like, that's so good.
You should have seen his Rain Esque run the other day, last night. He like missed like 3 spells that should have killed him. That old run he's on a tear this weekend, I guess.
And here we are. We are about to fight Mac. One of the attack boosting items gets used here. We use the Energizer on Mario to basically clear out the bodyguards to reduce the number of attacks that are going to come our way. The rest of the fight is really up to improvisation, because if Mac at any point Echo Finders, which is the mute spell, if at any point he Echo Finders Mallow, you have to pivot. This fight is very rough. It also requires very perfect blocking. Sony's probably doing a gamer lean right now, and I wouldn't blame him because his fight sucks. But
yeah, we're not... The additional ads aren't like at a major risk of killing us. More so we just kill them to speed things up. The one we need to make sure goes down 100% is Mac. Because a lot of these bosses will go through a certain amount of phases and then do like a party-wide attack. And because those party-wide attacks are magic, they can't be perfect guarded or even like guarded in any significant way. So the amount of damage they do is just enough to clean our clocks. So we're on a timer to make sure Mac goes down before Mac kills us.
Yeah, so all Smithy bosses, Smithy bosses are Mac, Boyer, Yuridovich. They have these AoE attacks that cannot be blocked. Mac has Sword Rain, duh. Boyer has Arrow Rain, and Yuridovich has Spear Rain. These attacks cannot be blocked, and they will one-shot your party if you're not defending using the defend action command, which is like, I know, right? Who uses the defend action command in SMRPG? But yes, you have to in this game to survive these moves. They will kill your party almost at any level, to be honest. They're just really strong. Alright, so Sony didn't go with his original strat here. I don't blame him. He decided to go with the safer one for Marathon's sake. But here, Mac is... So that's Mac's ultimate. So he's charging for the Sword Rain attack that would wipe his party. But this Shocker is going to kill him. So he'll never get a chance to use it.
Normally, counting is really important in a lot of ROM hacks, or just Super Mario RPG in general. But this one, it's extremely important to keep track of the numbers, because it could be catastrophic if you lose your place in a fight.
That was great.
Yeah, it was really good. The other nice thing, too, is you can actually scroll from side to side on these level ups. And it also holds the position, too, so level ups go a lot quicker than normal.
Yeah, so all in all, that was still a sub 22 Mac, which is great. In like PB attempts, you want to look for like a sub 21, but again, with the things that happened in the beginning, he's balanced it out.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, getting what we call a 2-turn Belome is now almost impossible. We have to without that magic level up, we're not going to be able to 2-turn Belome most likely, and so he's going to have to probably take an extra turn on that. But that's okay; it's not the end of the world.
Yep.
So he is now in the point of the game where you. So I was talking earlier about how there's big differences between vanilla and Armageddon. In the original version of the game, to speedrun that game, you need to know how to super jump, and it's a big gate for a lot of runners who are trying to pick up the original game. If they want to learn how to speedrun it, they have to learn how to do 100 super jumps, which, for those who have played the original game, that's a challenge. That's
not
something
easy.
That's very hard to do. Armageddon doesn't have super jumps, fortunately. I'm very happy about that, by the way, because I don't think it's, personally, as someone who ran vanilla for 10 years, I don't think it's entertaining to sit there for a minute and a half.
Like, it's rough losing a run to that too.
Yeah, it's rough losing a run, and I don't think it's very watch fun. Like, if you're a spectator and you have to sit there and not say anything for 90 seconds while someone's doing the super jump, it's not very fun.
It'd be one thing if it was just the damage, but the super suit paired with it kind of like makes the problem worse, because that huge boost is incredibly important. But this changes out for that. Like I mentioned, elemental weaknesses are really important. So we actually have orbs, which are a little bit longer than normal ones. I believe it's about 15 inputs for normal, and this is bumped up to 30. So a lot of it is hitting those inputs on orbs to make sure we get enough damage.
Yeah, so the skill catalyst in Armageddon comes down to your ability to do orbs well. The difference between doing perfect orbs and not over the course of the entire run, you're talking anywhere from like 5 to 10 minutes. So it's similar to Vanilla's super jumps in a way, but a lot more, in my opinion, a lot more reasonable for somebody to pick up and just do.
Because it's done in bursts, and it's not like all or nothing each and every single time.
Yeah, like some of them, there's some leeway in some of them. Like if you drop an orb, so like in vanilla, for example, if you drop a super jump, for example, you do 99 super jumps, your run's dead. Whereas if you do 28 orbs or 29 orbs instead of 30, you're probably fine. So it's a lot more forgiving in that. But this is going to be the first orb section of the game.
So one of the things that we kind of glossed over, because we were talking about different stuff, you may have noticed we have Peach's ? That is actually incredibly important because it gives us a 10 speed boost. So it helps manipulate the turn order to be the way that we need it to for these fights. And we will be using it a little bit later on too, but getting it is incredibly important. And we also talk to Daisy too. There will be some times where we go speak with Daisy. Mainly to get either FP or a refill. Early on, it used to be in the route, but it got removed because there was one in the castle. But FP management and getting FP upgrades is incredibly integral to this run.
So that was really good. So Sonic kept track of damage there and noticed that he was able to clean that up with a hollow physical. Belome has 12,000 HP there. He dealt around 5,000 with the first fire orb, 5,300 with the second one for 10,300, and then 1,200 with the shocker that he used on the previous turn for 11,400. So he knew that Belome only had 600-ish. I don't know the exact number. I wasn't really paying attention. But he knew he had around 600 HP left, and knew that Malo's physical does exactly 820, and was able to pick it up. So that was really good HP recognition on his part.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was talking about. It's not like a game breaker to count HP, and it's like, oh, you're going to fail because of it. But it can be a significant time save over several fights, just paying attention to that and keeping track of it so you can speed things up and not wait FP or just use an untimed attack instead of going after a huge magic gambit. So we really don't need much of anything in here, so we're just going to kind of do our best to avoid everything except for the one galaxy coin that's in our path.
Sonny's taking the scenic route.
Yeah. Just wanted to show you guys what those caves look like since you haven't seen them in years, I bet. But yeah, since we have 255 frog coins, there's no point to bother with any of these. The only thing we really need is galaxy coins. And there's so many on the route that we don't have to worry about it, like this one right here. That's 1 of 10. Same thing with the barrel minigame here. We're going to avoid as many coins as possible. As long as we're sub 10, we get to save a little bit of time by skipping a additional dialogue box. So there's not too much here, just paying attention to what we're doing and making sure we don't bonk.
Yeah, this is all vanilla stuff. This is the standard mini games. There's no extra challenge here. There's some challenges in hard mode where they speed up the little clap things, the little things that steal Mario's coins. They're a little bit faster on hard. There's still vanilla speed, pretty sure.
So we keep mentioning hard mode. You want to go a little bit more into that because we're playing normal, correct, and you also run this and hard.
Yeah, so Sony's running the normal category. There's a category in this game, the harder version of the game. Essentially, it's a lot more complicated than this, but essentially hard mode doubles all of the damage that you take, reduces the damage of your magic, increases the cost of the FP of your magic, so jump would cost 3 instead of 2, fire would cost 5 instead of 4, and weakens and removes and restricts the player of certain items. So like Kira Cola, which was in the original game, which heals all FP and FP, you can only get one of those maximum at any given time on hard mode. Where in vanilla you can add, where in normal mode you can add infinite. As many as your item inventory can hold. So hard mode is just the exclusively more challenging version of the game. And in our Discord we have roles, like little kind of like rewards that we hand out, saying like, hey, you beat hard mode in full, you beat all the super bosses on hard mode, and we give you a little colored name to show that you're one of the elite Armageddon players, so hard mode has been speedrun also. I've speedrun that category. I don't enjoy it very much. I'll be completely transparent.
It looks very difficult. The reason I mention this is if you are interested in playing this, the normal difficulty is a lot more reasonable and a lot more enjoyable. Just in case you do go, so you don't get confused. People are like, oh, he was playing on hard. No, we're doing the normal, and that's pretty fun to pick up and just play as a challenge.
Yeah, the hard mode. The creator of this game, Doom, actually says he's like, normal mode is fun, hard mode is hard.
Yeah. So we will be picking up the legally distinct froggy stick here. It's actually the flame stick. Like I said, elemental weaknesses are incredibly important. So this will make Mallow very useful on a few bosses or enemies that have fire weakness, mainly Boyer, so that we can pivot into Mario doing fire orbs and Mallow smacking with a flame stick.
Yeah, so Flame Staff is incredibly important here, like Sid just mentioned. So the next boss, Boyer, he is weak to fire, and the way his fight works in this game is much different. So you might remember in the original he had these buttons, these like X, Y, and B buttons.
Yeah,
I think they were. I don't remember what buttons they were. But he would use them to disable your commands. He would lock you out of using items, lock you out of using special moves, lock you out of using physicals. That's not in this game anymore. Instead, he actually summons a little mini army. So you know how Mac had those little bodyguards, those little blue shysters?
Yep.
Boyer will have enemies fighting with him as well. Not initially. Initially, it's just a 3-on-1, but then he'll be like, "Yeah, then there's a 3-on-1. This isn't fair." Me, and he'll summon his arrow friends, his flunkies, and the fight from there gets normally pretty challenging because similarly as Sid mentioned earlier, Boyer's another one of those bosses that has a ultimate attack that would destroy your party if not prepared. Similarly, we don't let him use that one either. Spoilers.
Yeah, we do our best to not get wiped. What a shock!
Spoilers. We will not see ultimate spells much in this game, and the ones that we do are not either not avoidable or they're not a problem to us later in the game.
We will buy a few things for the frog coins over here just for safety.
Yeah, so there we pick up able juices and freshen ups. There are status healing items that we use to remove mutes and poisons, etc.
Yep. A lot of the bosses have their gimmicks either completely reworked or removed and swapped out for another ones. It's one of the more refreshing parts of this, where most hacks of this kind of just like double down or make it, certain things more hard. This actually like focuses on reworking the gimmicks or adding a completely new one, so it's actually a different experience from the vanilla gameplay.
So the true experience for Armageddon is obviously in the post game. This game has a massive post game, probably triple the length of the actual game. So I don't know why I did this to myself. I guess, speaking of being a masochist, I guess I just am one, because I chose to do a 100% version of this speedrun of this game, which took me well over 12 hours to do. And the Armageddon speedrun is down to 2 hours and 53 minutes. So the other 10 hours of that was completing the rest of the game. And mind you, I was not playing super optimally, but I was trying to go fast. But that's how much post game there is. And if you'd like to see it for yourself, I'd highly recommend playing this game. It's really cool what they were able to add to this game without making it explode.
I've seen a lot of it, or a little bit of it. It's very interesting. It's worth experiencing for yourself. But yeah, this is it. It's a really good rework of the main game. We got a little break coming up here shortly for Sonny, which would be nice. And as well. But as you notice, we went out of our way to grab a couple of FP ups there. Like I said before, we'll be doing a lot to make sure we get enough flower points at a certain point. To the point where, if you're familiar with the hill, we'll be hitting up and making sure we get a certain amount of flowers out of that. And if we don't, we'll have to pivot and grab other flowers. But we'll get there when we get there. But it's a pretty tight FP route that we pick up and make sure that we have enough. So the next big thing actually is like the forest maze itself. It's fairly hard to get through there. It's pretty easy once you really get used to it, but the enemies can be quite tricky snaking through that area. So we want to avoid encounters if possible, but if we do get an encounter, this hack actually tweaks it so that escapes are guaranteed. So as long as we get to take our turn first, we can run from every fight. There are some instances where the enemies will obviously go before us because they're faster. The risk of dying is pretty much non-existent because we'll get healed after every fight we run away from. And we'll just lose time to the animations. So if like the bee gets us, they'll get their turns off. They really won't do enough damage to kill us, but we'll still be able to flee. Yeah, fortunately.
So correction. So a little bit of a correction there. The way running works is whenever you run from a battle, it restores you to your condition prior to that battle. So if you go into a fight with minimal health, and your characters are all low health, and you run from a battle, those characters will still have low health. However, if a character is inflicted with a status, damaged, fallen, whatever, you'll be restored to whatever your condition was prior to entering that battle. So because we avoid all overworld encounters and remove all normal encounters, all bosses do heal you upon beating them.
That makes sense.
So we will always be full health if and when we do encounter a overworld enemy. So when we run from it, we'll always be full health as well.
Yeah, that's probably the better way to do it anyway, because it actually like maintains the difficulty of it to some extent. Also, we'll get an FP up here by talking to Daisy and refill out of it. So this is one of those. Yeah, Daisy actually gives pretty big FP ups. It's super nice.
Yeah, so that FP up is actually 5 flower points, which is like insane. Like there's a lot of times we tried to consider like skipping certain flowers because like they're either too slow or they're whatever. That one gives 5 FP. There's no world we can ever skip that. It's just too substantial.
There's a couple of places where it seems like maybe we're getting 1 or 2, but there's quite a few that are actually 5 total FP bonus. Super nice.
Yes, like the Zap Punch we got in Mushroom Kingdom Under Attack. She gives us 2 FP there, but the reason we talked to her there is to get the Zap Punch, which actually stays on Mario for the next 2.5 hours. We only changed that weapon once more, and it's not for another 2 hours from now.
It turns out that there's a lot of enemies weak to lightning, so just hanging on to it and then changing later once we have a significantly stronger weapon.
Well, it's not that they're weak to lightning. We actually don't use the Zap Punch. We actually don't use the physical Zap Punch again. Oh, good RNG there.
Yeah, you're right. I'm thinking of the Flame Stick.
Yeah, the Flame Stick we used a couple times, but we actually don't use Zap Punch as a physical attack. I don't think at all anymore, except for, I guess, Candle Phase on Cake, but we don't use that punch anymore. The reason it's there is to boost Mario's magical damage output, since he is our primary. Yeah,
very fair. There's a lot of additional bonuses that I'm not 100% aware of that actually factor in, because a lot of these items have more than just attack. They are stat sticks. Like the Flame Staff also gives like plus 30 magic and 5 magic defense. So you have to be aware of the bonuses each weapon and armor give you.
Yeah, so the Zap Punch gives us a very substantial magic buff. And we use that magic buff to, like I said, use these orbs very prominently. The orbs are a huge, basically almost exclusively our damage output for the first like hour of the run, including here. Excuse me, guys. Yeah, wouldn't that be something, VGM? So VGM is another one of our speedrunners, actually. He's been on a bit of a hiatus doing some other categories, but he should be coming back soon.
Yeah, if there was some sort of like super armor you got out of hitting a certain amount of orbs would be awful. I think that's part of the reason that it's so good, is that the orbs don't really set a super hard skill check outside of like individual fights. And if you know how to work around your low orb output, you can still make the fights work. It'll just be a little bit slower.
Yeah, like anybody can run this game without even being able to do orbs well at all. Like even if you're very mediocre at orbs, you can still run this game. You just won't be able to challenge for like the higher time. Like you won't be able to get sub 3 hours and chase world record. To do that, you obviously need to be good at orbs, but if you're looking to do the speedrun and just complete it and for your own like personal satisfaction, anybody can do it. It's just you want to be able to have these orbs sort of down pat. But here we are. We're going into Boyer, which is probably, in my opinion, this is the easiest orb fight in the game. You can be you don't really need to be super on point with them to beat this guy. But yeah.
Geno is even better in this version. Not only does he have Geno boost, but I believe he has a revival move as well. Everybody has like a reworked skill kit. We really only talked about Mario's, but everybody has a lot of changes to their actual skills, so they have more utility than they did in the vanilla game.
Also nice to see you. So yeah, this fight likely is going to take a second flame staff from Malo. Normally we do three fireworks here, one flame staff, and that'll end the fight. But because these are really low damage output, and he missed the timing on the flame staff. So yeah, Boyer's not going to die anymore to flame staff here. So it's going to take him another jump here, unfortunately, but he's alright.
As long as we're in a position where we can clear before the ultimate comes out, we're good. But the orbs, like I said, the input was doubled, so it's a little bit harder to get them all out. And as much as it seems like it would be mashing, it really isn't. There's a rhythm to it, and if you get off, that's how you kind of drop those orbs the way that Sonny has in the last few. It is a little bit hard to perform under pressure too, but that's the nice thing. Is like if we were working on super jumps, it'd be GG no re would be done right now. But jump, we did talk about it real like quick offhandedly, but it's actually a flat damage that pierces defense. It doesn't work at all like the vanilla jump that gradually increments its damage based on the amount of usage. So jump actually isn't as strong and isn't as weak as it would be normally. So it's a real nice tool that we have in our kit.
So he should freshen up here because these poison ticks are just going to drain time. But it looks like he's just going for the faster time here.
Yeah, the poison overall, the time loss is mainly just from the poison damage popping every turn before you get to do anything. That's the only downside to it. And obviously, in some cases, you die if you let it go a little bit too long. Sometimes we do actually like characters dying because we don't need them to do anything, but we made it through that fight. Could have been a lot worse, that's for sure.
Yeah, that was the first time I've ever seen Mario failed in the Boyer fight, so that was new. But yeah, he got through it.
I've never seen that before. Yeah. It's the no reset run curse. You'll see a lot of things that you've never seen before when you submit it to a marathon. Interesting, yeah. I haven't seen a ton of the post game, so I'm not super duper aware of it. I've only seen a few bosses, but I'll take your word for it that it jumps really good in the post game.
Yeah. So later on in the game, we really focus on getting So this game, we haven't had to touch on it yet because no bosses have I haven't had to, but bosses in this game have a mechanic called lives. Basically, if an enemy has 90,000 HP, they don't actually have 90,000 HP per se. They have three intervals of 30,000 HP, so 3 lives of 30,000 HP. So what that means, for example, if you dealt 25,000 damage with one attack and 15,000 damage with your second attack, you didn't actually deal 40,000 points of damage. You dealt that enemy's first life, and then you'll go on to their second life of 30,000, but the damage will not overlap. So you dealt 25,000 and 15,000, 10,000 damage just basically went to waste.
I know, like a really like easy vanilla thing to point to is if you're familiar with Final Fantasy IV, Zermus refills his life points hidden in the background. So it's basically the same thing. Even if we do all of Z's HP, the shake would refill the HP. Here, basically all we're doing is the shake happens immediately after damage. So any damage we overdo to that life bar gets sent to the void. So just like a modern game where you're beating a boss and they get a little gray HP bar with a lock that tells you, haha, no more damage for you. That's basically what we're dealing with. It's just segments it into those different things without a visual phase change. We're going to grab some reflect vests here so we actually have some decent defense. No work pants in this. No free super damage upgrade for the entire run.
You know what I love about speedrunning?
Mm-hmm.
Like, one of my favorite things is... I may be the world record holder, but there's, like, freaking 30 things in this game that Sony does better than me, and, like, by like a lot too. Like,
Oh, yeah.
like he's better at map movement than me. He's better at most of the mini games than I am. He's better at the vines in Nimbus Land. He's better.
Oh man,
he's even
the
better
worst vines Sony has ever had incoming. Good work.
No, dude, even his worst,
yeah.
worst, literally his worst vines are better than my best. So like,
speedrunning in general, I love the two things of like the community working together to like break a game and come up with really good ideas, and you know, mainly work together to incrementally shave a game's time down.
Yeah, so I was talking about this earlier. When I first started running this game seriously, I was the first person who started running v10 like semi-seriously. We thought the best time, like our vision, we thought like the best time, like the nuts was going to be in it was 3 hours and 15 minutes. That's what we had like guesstimated. Obviously, it was just a guess. We didn't know, right? But we thought 3:15 was going to be like the nuts. And now the runs category is down to sub 255, which is it's awesome. I love that. And it's been a bunch of people who've been willing to help. Like Doom, who's in the chat, one of the co-creators of the game, has helped. Sony has helped. The guy running the game now, insane amount of help. A lot of other people threw stuff at the wall and just kind of saw what's stuck and have helped out tremendously.
I've seen a ton of just random games, big like AAA games and stuff that have smaller communities than this ROM hack. We're going to be heading over here real quick to pick up something. Normally, the way that this map is structured, we won't actually be able to get into this area till after we deal with Croco, but because the map's kind of reorganized, we get access to the star here. So we'll be able to get a couple of...
He's about to fight Croco too. This is one of the hardest fights in the game, you know. And Blink, you just might miss it, and but you won. Cool. Good job.
Quite literally, yeah. And the nice thing about that star being where it is, rather than it being post Croco, is we can just use it to insta-go Croco. It's like the closest thing we have to a glitch or a skip.
Yeah. So again, there's certain things in this game that the fact that they work genuinely amazes me. Now, mind you, I'm not a programmer. I do not know how games work. I don't know how code works. I don't know how, like, I'm not knowledgeable in that facet of games. But the fact that Croco can be killed with the star there, I think is incredibly sweet. Like, that's so cool.
Oh yeah, see, I remember mentioning that it was a soft lock, but it's a combination of reorganizing the rooms and then fixing the subsequent soft lock that would have happened. So it's like a two-part thing. Normally, you can't do that, even if you could access a star, it would lock the game because you can't get the bomb without fighting Croco normally. But now it just gives it to you. So we're going to head into Punchinello and set up with some damage from Ice at the start here, because that's his weakness. But Punch also summons some bombs here, which will instantly explode if hit with a fire attack. And Mallow just happens to have a fire stick, so we will be able to abuse that on some of the later bomb phases to just get a few of them out of the way and speed things up. Right here.
So Sony's doing physical attacks here to pad his damage because he did that HP level up in the beginning of the game. So he can't do the fast strat on Punchinello. So he's just going for some backups.
It's a good thing that Sony is keeping track of it, because it's something that's very easy to forget since it was such an early mistake. It's something that he's going to have to keep in the back of his mind the whole rest of the run. One thing you may notice as well is that we're hitting like K damage. That's 12.8K, so it maxes at 15,000. So it's a period, not like an additional ones place. So it's not 150, it's just 15. That's a little annoying.
Yeah, so Mute Bomb on Mario is something we have to heal. nobody comes close to dealing the amount of damage Mario outputs, so we have to,
This is why we grab the able juices for things like this, so that we're not hamstrung in a fight. We can buy them.
See, this is unfortunate. That was actually a one drop, so like normally we'd be able to just press from here. But it's actually really crazy how much one level up difference actually can just change certain fights. This is an example of that. Like normally that wouldn't do 12.8. Normally that would do 13.4. And we'd be able to just jump and go to this next phase.
Yeah.
All we have to do is throw in a physical, so it's fine. It's not the end of the world.
The problem is like the math is so tight that little bit is a problem. Because normally if we were just using physicals, we'd have to accept that damage range is a reality versus using magic, where as long as you do the inputs right, the damage should be 100% consistent.
Yeah, so what VGM just said in the chat is correct. So normally a mess up in the EXP menuing early would just be a reset. We would just tie that one up because there's just too much. I didn't even actually notice this because it's never come up before, but I didn't realize that Hammer Bro doesn't die in 9 jumps if you miss the first level up screen. Words. It's so hard to say words. Hammer Bro actually won't die to 9 jumps. He'll live on like 30 HP or something, and then you'll die to the triple strike. Sony calculated that in the beginning, and he actually healed himself to make sure he didn't die. But yeah, it's actually super important in almost the entire game to have Mario get all of its magic level ups.
Yeah, it's a rough mistake, but it's the kind of thing you've got to be ready for with a marathon run, where not only do we have to pay attention to what the normal route is, but we have to see what our deficit is compared to the normal route and figure out on the fly how to compensate for it. If it had been super, super early, it would have been okay to reset maybe, but the problem is you have like the 55-second intro, and then you have all of Bowser's Castle up to that first level. Without like a safety save or a backup save, it's not going to be tenable to do anything about it.
Like me personally, I probably would have asked for a mulligan there and started over just because I don't know the adjustments for missing the... I don't know the adjustments like that.
To be fair, Sony doesn't either. I think we're all discovering this on the same time.
I don't know. He figured it out. Like he knew that Hammer Bro was gonna live that fight. Like I figured it out later, but I wouldn't have even known.
Yeah, he's done a lot of marathon runs, so he's pretty good at being flexible with things. Luckily, this middle portion will shape a little bit easier once we finally get a hold of Peach. For now, we still got to go for some
casual perfect orbs on XM Yellow.
Yeah, he's back in the rhythm. We're good. Just took him a little bit of time to warm up as usual.
Okay, me bump sucks, but we have backup for that. Now don't no.
Yeah, well, it is what it is.
Now don't energize her. Don't energize you.
Sonny, please. Yeah, this
is fine because at least if he gets as long as Gino doesn't get bombed here, he's pretty good. And even if he does, he can just heal it off.
Neat.
It was juice.
He used it. It's gone.
He has one more, doesn't he?
No, that's the second one. He's out of able juices.
Primary.
Yep. Oh, wow. Well, we're gonna grip it and rip it.
We're good.
We ball.
That's it. We're good.
We made it through. Let's go.
Also, by the way, that fight is not in the original game. I was kind of like lost in the sauce of like Sony doing this entire run improv, and I'm like, I was like, Axum Black and the Axum Yellow. Wait, they weren't in the original game. Well, not yet.
Yeah, this hack introduces the Axum range a bit earlier, bit by bit, and makes him a little bit more of the story. It's a lot more intuitive than just kind of, hey, there's these idiots at the back of the volcano and they stole your stuff. Go murder them, please.
Yeah, I haven't read vanilla dialogue in probably 20 years, but I don't remember if the Axum Bear were even referred to prior to Barrel Volcano. They might be. I don't actually remember.
yeah, I really didn't read it much when I was playing through the remake either, so I couldn't tell you one way or the other. But the rework on all the boss fights and then adding in a few more, as well as the post-game fights, is one of the coolest parts here.
Okay, so Doom mentioned that the accents are not mentioned. I didn't think so. Because I know that only time the accents get brought up in a cutscene is Malo says something after we beat them. He says something like, "Oh, the accents took it away from us, but we got it back," or something like that.
Yeah, so this goes a little bit quicker too, because we just have an arseload of mushrooms, so we can just spam them. The problem is,
Yes, you missed the jump. It's not just me, damn it. Dude, I freaking bonk there every freaking run I do because I haven't figured out how to do that room yet. So yay, somebody else.
I see you've come back to life just to be angry at the minecart, like everyone should be. I
am not good at this minigame either.
This minigame is just cursed, man. That's the one thing I don't dislike about modern games, is a lot of the time they'll let you skip minigames. So I'm not going to complain about it. But at least this one is mitigated by the fact that we're just, there's a ton of mushrooms. So as long as you move correctly, it's sped up very quickly. So the side-scroller segments are very fast for the most part. Also, I still think you should be able to jump over that hairpin. And you'll never convince me otherwise. Just a 3-minute ride. Just 3 minutes of my time. I guess.
I think if you pay the whole minecart, you still get like a 240 something. Like,
yeah, almost up to nice.
Yeah, I am bad at most of the mini games in this game. I don't like. I can do the Dodo mini game. I'm pretty good at that one.
Yeah, it's 318, I guess, or something to that for like a YOLO or a AFK cart. It's pretty funny. It's not really that I like hate it. There's just some mini games that I don't really enjoy too much, and luckily there's not a ton forced into this game that are in the main story. That's my only bone that I ever have to pick, is a lot of like mini games crammed into the main story. I mean, that take you out of the gameplay loop.
I don't know if this means anything, but I like Vanilla's minecart better than remakes. Remakes minecart sucks.
Oh yeah, no, they messed up the minecart, but like it's a trade-offer, right? You get the skip in the minecart segment, but you also get the worst minecart controls that ever did exist. And
yeah, you have to basically come to a complete stop to make any turn in the remix. The remix minecart it is so awkward and uncomfortable.
I know I'm bad, but there's so many times I'm like, no, I should not have jumped that rail. Speaking of jumping, we got a little bit of chicanery up here.
Dude,
of course, marathon percent. Let's go. Come on, buddy. Come on.
I hate boosters pass. That was really good luck. That Smithy walked right where he needed him to.
So this may seem weird, but you'll see this lucky ring. This is the EXP booster, and we need to grab that to totally gas up our levels on one character, especially since it caps at 50. So we're going to be juggling around that lucky ring a few different times, but mainly we're going to be using it to max out Mario. And I think we use it a little bit on Peach too as well.
Yeah, we use it on Mario and Peach almost exclusively, and then later we just throw it on Malo for the sake of speeding up levels.
Yeah, by the end we will hit max levels, but we really want to get Mario up as soon as possible because he has access to all 4 elements. So it's the best way to make every single fight consistent, and raises our survivability in the end game quite significantly. Also pick up a flower there, that'll increase our max FP and refill it when we use that.
I just realized something. This run's actually dead to Great Guy Echo Finder on Mario, so let's hope that doesn't happen.
Why do you wish these evils into reality?
Dude, coming into this section of the game with 0 able juices is unbelievably rare. Like it is so unlikely to happen. So...
I mean, in terms of like a single segment, we can always bounce off the fight and try again.
Oh yeah, we'll just die. We'll just die and come back to it. But like,
yeah,
having 0 able juices here is so rare, dude.
I mean, unless he bought 3, because I saw him use 2 total.
No, we only buy 2 because there's no world we ever need 3. Cough, cough. Here's the world we're in.
Yeah, I mean, that is fair. There's always that one time where you're just like, neat. I used all my backup items. Well, time to pray.
I mean,
yeah,
Great Guy Echo Finding Mario is never happens, right? Like that's not something that happens.
So we're like lightly alluding to it, but anytime you die in a fight, Rosalina will resurrect you at a certain set point before that fight. So even without saving at the save block, almost every fight in the game is not a game over situation. There's only one with the cake. And that's a really, not to curse it, but hopefully that we should not be in that scenario.
Yeah, cake is very easy. That's not a hard fight at all.
I think like the point of failure is just getting the insta-kill move and then getting it on Mallow, because Mallow's the only one that doesn't have protection, so...
Yeah, so Cake. Yeah, so one of Cake's phases involves him using dark magic. So in this game has regular spells and it has dark spells. Dark spells have a 20% chance to instant kill a party member. But Cake only gets to use that dark move once, hopefully. Actually, no, I'm sorry. It only ever gets to use a dark move once ever, because even if it does instant kill Malo, we just make an adjustment.
Yeah.
But
it, more or less, we just got to roll a crit fail. You may notice we grabbing a fire gem here. Gems are going to become the main damage source very shortly. For now, we're going to get a couple, and you'll see kind of how powerful they are. They're a lot more powerful than normal because of the DPS output is functionally doubled or halved in hard, however you want to look at it. If we hit a weakness, we'll be hitting for about 15k, or is it? No, it should be 15 for normal, and then I think it's like 7.5 for hard with the gem damage.
Yeah, so as Sid pointed to, gems are broken in this game. They are incredibly overpowered. Imagine bombs in vanilla, but like 10 times better.
But good.
Yeah, like they deal an absurd amount of damage for the mid game. Yeah, so they deal 15,000 damage for enemies that are weak to it, 7,500 damage to enemies that take neutral damage from the spell, and 3,750 to enemies that resist the spell. So mostly we'll be using gems to deal enemies' weaknesses. So we'll be aiming for 15,000. And as I mentioned, the live system earlier, you have to take 30,000 damage to take a life. Basically, every 2 gems that we use will take one of those lives. So sometimes, depending on an enemy's like first turn output, we could just use 6 gems, because 15 times 6 is 90, and just kill an enemy before they even have a relevant turn. We'll be seeing a lot of that in about, I want to say, like half an hour from now.
Yeah, there's a few cases where we just spam because the animation's a little bit quicker. But for the most part, it's going to increase our DPS and make it 100% consistent for the mid-game. So we really won't have to worry about that early HP level for a little bit longer. And hopefully the curve will smooth out by the time we get to a point where we're actually doing attacks again. The reason I bring it up is we'll be getting them fairly soon after Cake. Because we actually get access to the Frog Coin Shop once we get Peach and return her to the castle. But for now, we have to actually do some of these fights and use the few gems that we've got on hand that were graciously included in the Booster's Tower. We also topped off a lot of our Galaxy coins here too on that jumping puzzle, avoiding any spiked encounter squares, so that we could just get the frog coins, hop over there, grab the gem, and then head back to the main track.
So for those wondering why we're not just winning this minigame and skipping this, even if you win the boosters pass, the booster curtain minigame, you still have to fight Booster. So basically, he'll say, "Hey, you know, thanks for helping me. You're so sweet, but oh wait, you're Mario. I still hate your guts. I want to fight you." And you have to do this battle no matter what. So we just lose the boosters minigame because the prize is not worth it for the speedrun. And we just use 3 gems and take care of him. He has 20,000 health. 7,500 times 3 is 22,500. The Sniffers have 10,000 health each. 3,750 times 3 is 10,250, and we just clear them out, and that's it. Also, Knife Guy, Great Guy, please don't do it.
Yeah, we should have enough damage to take this out. Obviously.
I'm just worried about the, you know...
Yeah, the Echo Find, or the Immune... Yeah. It's fair. That's the one hinging point of the run sometimes. Because Mario's the only one that has access to every element, if something happens to him, things can be catastrophic. It's more so towards the end game where that starts becoming an issue in some respects. But right now, we just don't want to get hit with that mute, because that's a very bad thing. Nice. Yeah,
good.
The enemies have a pretty specific script, so we know which turn certain attacks will come out. So we know if we're past the danger phase or not. Sonny is on top of the orbs right now.
Yeah, he actually threw out a Geno physical because his orbs haven't been good, so he wanted to like cover his tracks by just dealing an extra physical there. I don't blame him. But that was actually perfect orbs.
Yeah, we lose a little bit of time by doing the additional attacks, but guaranteeing that we kill is far more important than losing a little bit of time, especially in a marathon. Safety is probably the best thing to push towards.
Oh, he's going for... Oh, he's just killing him. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, one of the other things we do sometimes, too, is we avoid killing enemies to kind of reorganize the turn order so that when we kill them, we'll be in the order that we want to be in.
That's bad.
Geno, why?
Just physical. No!
Ice.
Alright, this fight's over. He's gonna die here. Yeah, he's 100% dead here. He doesn't have enough FP to kill, He doesn't have enough FP to kill Knife Guy.
That's kind of what I was talking about with the, like, turn order. That's the unfortunate truth here.
Yeah, so this will be a wipe. He's probably just gonna do a couple untimed attacks, let Knife Guy kill him here.
If nothing else, he'll realize he doesn't have enough FP here. Yep. Mallow's gonna solo. Let's go.
My man is trying to solo with Mallow. I respect it. Hey, if you're gonna die, go down swinging.
It was a decent attempt at a recovery. We're gonna be here for a bit if he does actually manage to solo with Mallow, though.
No,
Problem is,
it's impossible.
The DPS is too high. Yeah, we'd have to have some like really low rolls, which is not something that happens with Magic. So I guess we get to check out what I was talking about. Each one of the boss fights has this checkpoint where it bounces you back and resets you prior to the fight. It's a nice mercy system. The only downside is you have to be familiar with where it drops you off. Didn't really need that extra Galaxy coin. We just want to make sure we didn't jump on one of the encounter tiles.
So I think I know why he did that. I think I know why he Ice Orbed. He might have thought that Zap Punch healed Great Guy. It doesn't. Great Guy actually just resists Thunder, so like he would have been able to punch and kill there. So, but he might not have known that.
It's hard to tell sometimes when you're like under the gun, especially with a marathon. When you're doing a marathon run, sometimes your brain just kind of goes, kill it before it kills you, and you put yourself in a bad situation, unfortunately. But yeah, sometimes we don't mind characters dying if they're not going to attack. But at this point, Gino is a linchpin with a lot of this stuff. So if Gino gets, or if any of them really die, we're kind of in a rough position. Oh, did we just get muted? Man, these two are not being friendly today. No, okay. Yeah, I know there's certain fights where we want characters to die, and you never really know. But with in a kind of a backup situation like this, it's kind of hard to tell.
Sorry about that. I need to get some water. My throat is killing me.
Yeah, that's understandable. It's kind of hard to, like, get what's going on here. We're just trying to get back on track with the normal pattern that we go with. Yeah, so what I'm mentioning is, like, dying is optimal because we can just skip that character's turn. But without additional targets to take damage, sometimes it is a very bad thing, and you really don't want to see it. Especially in kind of a wonky position like this, where we're a little bit low on damage. Hey, meat shield is being a meat shield. Let's go.
But yeah, you got him. Nice.
So there we go. Back on track. Unfortunate, but that's definitely what you expect to happen in a marathon. A little bit of flexing there, fiddling around. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, block timings for this are a little bit different, if I remember correctly, because a lot of the attacks are more or less created wholly different from the main game. But I may be wrong with that.
It depends on the fight. Like Krako, for example. Krako has his claw attack in this game is very deceptive to block. He normally just does this little dash thing where he just rushes at you.
Yeah.
So in this game, he has a little claw strike thing that's kind of tricky to block if you don't know the timing. I didn't block it my first time playing this game because it's really.
So we're hitting another very important point here. We need to make sure to get a certain amount of flowers. We want to get at least 13 on the way up. I think 16 is possible, but it's RNG. But it should be pretty reasonable to get at least 13 or more flowers here.
Yeah, 15 is usually what you want to see here. 16 is RNG. There's no way to guarantee getting 16. Also, wow, he actually got the second flower off barrel 3, which is really crazy. This might be the rare 16.
Sonny is pretty solid with this minigame, actually.
Yeah, I'm pretty good at this one, actually. I'm bad at minigames, but this one I'm pretty good at. Usually I get 14 is the lowest I'll ever get on Booster Hill.
I mean, these are the kind of minigames I appreciate the most, where there is some level of challenge, but you're rewarded for getting good at it, rather than it's just your reward is playing it less. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this minigame is very vital to the run. If you don't get enough flower points here, you kind of do have to reset.
Nice, we
or
clicked
isn't
that
really
barrel
enough.
there.
Oh, that was a little unlucky. Nice recovery. This music is a banger.
Just all the music in this game is good. That's the wild part.
Yeah, honest to God, I don't think there's a bad song in SNRPG. I think all the music in this game is heat. So
Even if we don't hit the 13, which
He will.
is looking very unlikely at this point, there are plenty of backup flowers that we can grab a little bit later.
Oh, I disagree with that. That one looked okay.
Yeah, that was a bit questionable. Oh, thank you, please. No? Okay, neat.
I think that's 12. So he's gonna need a backup, but that's fine. Oh, 11. Yeah, that's right. He's gonna have to get the Nimbus Castle flowers. That's fine.
Yeah, luckily there's enough baked into the route that we know where to pick up the backups. Got caught by a couple of barrels in some weird situations and clipped through others instead of touching Peach. Unfortunate. What's really important here is actually we need to make sure to get the minigame here correct, because Peach will not only give us flowers but also refill us. So those 11 that we pick up on the hill will increase our max FP but not refill it. The minigame here isn't very hard to do, but it is definitely something we have to make sure we get correct. Or else not only will we short additional FP, but we won't have our FP refilled at all either. But we also want to set up here and re-equip everybody before we start the boss fight. Like I mentioned earlier, we're grabbing that lucky ring. So we need to throw that on Mario. And one of the unique things that you can do in Arma versus other hacks is you can actually take Mario out of the party. It's not really incentivized very much to do that, since he has access to all elements, but there are some cases where you want to play to the strengths of other characters, because everybody is kind of reworked, where they have innate resistances to magic and weakness to other ones. So especially in the post-game, you need to be very mindful about those interactions. It's part of the reason why you can take Mario out, but for the main game, we more or less need him the whole run. The only reason we're taking him out here is because we can, and then we can throw the lucky ring on him without any real loss for him not having a quote-unquote real accessory. And that and the Doom Cake is more or less a cutscene as long as we play it correctly. Like I said earlier, there is a chance that we get killed by the cake, but the instant death attack has to hit Mallow and kill Mallow. Everybody else has guards for it through accessories. So our risk is very minimal in that fight. We got to grab the additional stuff from Peach. These Sniffets, as you can tell, are schmoovin'. They definitely are really quick. We should be pretty good, though. That was fairly fast. It's actually, for somebody like Sonny, it's very hard to actually mess it up. One of the other things, we've kind of like referenced the remake a bit. One of the other things you may notice is the item system works completely differently. In the remake, the item system got a full rework. On lower settings, you basically can have like 99 of anything, every single individual item. But for this game, I believe the cap is like 29 because of the trash can. But we need to work around that smaller item cap. But we can have max of whatever we want, as compared to hard mode, where some of the items are limited to increase the difficulty a little bit more. Oh yeah, I do like fights like this, or especially in modern games where they like, oh, here's a boss fight. By the way, you're gonna have to do a boss fight, and a little like button pops up to let you know you can open a menu or force you to open it, like right here. We're gonna do the setup for the boss fight here because we can. But yeah, the main point is this will spike Mario up to 25 while everybody's in the low 20s. You'll be in the mid 20s. And the trend will continue for most of the rest of the run, where he keeps getting higher and higher. Peach introduces the Holy Element here. She's one of the other people that use it. Gino has access to lightning, and I believe one other element. I can't remember off the top of my head. But that'll basically be, as with Vanilla, the main party towards the end of the game will trend towards Mario, Peach, Gino as usual, so that we have basically, to borrow a Pokemon term, type coverage. And also the ability to heal through Peach and Gino eventually getting a revive will be very helpful. Yeah, I always did kind of like the name Pearl for Holy, but it was kind of hard to understand what exactly the devs wanted when they were trying to sidestep Holy, like with White as well in 4. It was a little bit obtuse. Oh yeah, that's actually a good point too. Sonny is playing on SD to SNES. Some of these games had a coprocessor built into the cartridge, so some of these games do run a little bit weird if you don't have a flash cart with that additional coprocessing power, or make sure that the settings on your emulator are correct. It will incorrectly emulate and kind of make the game run too fast or too slow in given circumstances. So it is something to be mindful about. I think it's a bit obtuse, but the translation is kind of endearing in a way, like the Woolseyism, that kind of stuff. To-date hardware being worse? Understandable, yeah. I don't play too much on emulators, so it's a little bit hard to for me to gauge. I usually just use my SD to SNES. But yeah, the cake here is pretty straightforward. Timed attacks are not required. Any hit will put out the candle here. And after we get them all out, the fight's over. So that's what we're looking for. So this will take 3 rounds to get through all the candles. But that's why we're not doing timed attacks, because there's actually no damage that we're aiming for here. We're just trying to get the candles out. The other reason we swap out Mario is because Peach is a little bit of a higher level and has Holy Element, which the enemies are kind of weak to. I do appreciate early translation efforts that kind of got carried over to modern revisions or remakes. Kind of like Kefka being more of a misanthrope rather than just straight up an evil guy. It gives him a bit more of a character. I think that's one of the things that I love the most about these older games is, honestly, the spotty translation in some places make it more memorable than it would have been otherwise. So we're going to be heading out here soon, and we got to take Peach back to the Bowser Kingdom, or Bowser Kingdom. Brain, please. I know it's late, but you don't have that much of an excuse. We're going to be heading back to the Mushroom Kingdom and taking Toadstool back. More or less, the game will push us back there immediately, so we don't have to do any of that other nonsense with the overworld movement. Though the overworld movement has been drastically increased for this, so it does make map movement a lot quicker and snappier. So we don't have to worry about that slowness in between every single map point. But now that we have Peach, we have a way to heal the entire party, and we also have the Holy Element as well. It basically just sets up for the final party. Looking back at the remake as well, if you've only ever played that, there are some key differences between Vanilla and that translate over as well. Not just the items, but the individual characters don't have like a bonus stat by being in the party, and we cannot hot swap our characters out. So if we wipe like we did to Night Guy and Great Guy, we can't like add Mallow in and or Bowser in and try and recover. So it's your party is set the moment you walk into a fight. But we will get access to a hidden shop in Mushroom Kingdom that is going to be very impactful for the mid portion, and make things a lot more consistent. The frog coins that we got a bunch of earlier will go to use here to pick up those elemental gems. There are fire, ice, thunder, and holy. And as we mentioned before, if we hit a weakness, they do 15,000, and every boss life pool is 30. So every 2 gems, we'll get rid of one of those lives. So it makes it so that we can speed through the fights with consistent damage and minimize the amount of uptime that bosses have. So we're actually going to buy a very specific amount of gems a few different times throughout the course of the run. Specifically because I mentioned the limit of the amount of items we have in our item inventory is only 29. So we're going to be buying 10 ice, 10 holy, 8 thunders, and 1 fire, specifically to target weaknesses. And in the places where it wouldn't kill anyway, we use just a faster animation gem. We also could put Mario back in the party here, but I think we stick with Mallow because there's no reason to put him back in, and it saves a little bit of time since we're just going to be going to, more or less, we're going to be crushing gems for the mid portion. These fights are doable without them, obviously. It's just a lot longer. It's more or less the Knife Guy, Great Guy fight. We have to do a bunch of setup, go through orbs. It's just the long way to the same answer. But the gems will speed things up significantly, and they also offer a little bit of routing where it's like, okay, well, how far can we get without using this gem? Can we make this fight reasonable by using an orb instead or something like that, because the boss doesn't have the full 30,000. There's a couple of different things that we can do here. We also will be picking up Holy Orb from the Star Hill, so Mario will have access to all of the elements from here on out. We really won't be using them too much in the mid segment because we're going to be just using gems to clear out bosses as quickly as possible, though. We do have to make sure that we go back to Tadpole Pond to actually get Star Hill active, as that is a flag to open up that area as well. So as of now, we're very close to about halfway through. Luckily, we have gems for the next segment. For better or worse, it will make it so that we don't have to worry too much about that early HP level. We'll just have to keep that in the back of our mind once we actually get back to mixing and matching both attacks and gems. So a lot of the emphasis will be on map movement, especially on Star Hill. The enemies there move pretty fast and aggressively, and knowing their movement patterns and reacting accordingly should allow us to get through there without getting into too many fights. But if you've only played this, you know that this is a fake out. As soon as we leave, Peach drops on in, and then we just ignore her and go back inside. It's actually quite long if we wait for her to float down and all that stuff. Heading back in actually saves us a little bit of time. It's a neat little speed tech. And you really don't miss much other than the floating animation. But yeah, now we pretty much have our team. The nice thing is the skills were reworked, and there's no way to like glitch out the move pool like is done in the vanilla speedrun to kind of push moves from one character to another. We basically just have a custom moveset for each character, which luckily gives us a lot of depth to our move pool between adding heals and revives on certain characters. We need to make sure to sell everything but the question mark here. Like I said earlier, that plus 10 speed will become very important. It's very important early on, and it's very important later on. So we need to make sure to hold on to that for the foreseeable future. We will sell it at some point, but for now, we want to keep it. as I said, we got to head into Frog Pond here to get Star Hill active. So it's a quick little dialogue. And if you're a big dummy like me, this would be the first time you're getting the Frog Staff. But the Flame Staff is super important in the amount of DPS it pushes out in Boyer, so we definitely want to get it when we did rather than way later and have him basically be handicapped in the fights. Now, we will go over here and talk to Rosalina to get Holy Orb for Mario. They do also sell some items in the shop here for Galaxy Coins, but we want to grab those later on. We actually don't want them just yet because of that HP pool limitation, or item pool limitation. We need to focus on gems for now. We'll be picking up some power-up items later on. Some pretty decent movement overall. Managing to jump out of the way of the little thieves here. The movement pattern for them are a little bit different. They kind of move in a rook pattern, like go forward and then hook left or right. So knowing that movement and responding accordingly is how we're managing to not get got by these little guys. Otherwise, they're very hard to dodge if you just expect them to keep lurching forward. That hook is really what gives them a lot of teeth to grab you. So Mario's going to hit 30 here while everybody starts getting up to 25. And you may be wondering how Mario's going to hit 30. We have blue and pink here to show up and ruin our day. Well, at least try to. It's not going to turn out very well for them. Now that we have gems, we can do a critical mass of damage extremely quick. So we're going to start with a fire gem here because of the weakness. That hits for 15,000. And then we'll follow up with a pair of thunder gems, and that will top off the damage on blue and finish off pink. Pretty nice. Thunder gem's a little bit faster, so we just keep spamming them. And that's fight. Once again, a lot of these can be done without gems, but it just ends up slowing things down significantly. And even if we didn't do the frog coin glitch early on, we still would go out of our way to get these gems because the fights are so much faster. So it would just be exchanging one grind for a different grind. And all in all, it's just better to take advantage of the frog coin glitch early on so that we can just get the gems this way, rather than going out of our way to stockpile frog coins to get the gems that we need for the fights. But yeah, normally this star is just given to us for free, but we actually have to fight for it this time. Not much of a fight, but it is a fight nonetheless. A lot of these fights, especially if you intend to do this, play this yourself, it is nice in some respects that the fights are done like this. You could do this yourself, but it also kind of keeps some of the gameplay hidden just in case you do want to get involved and play it yourself. You won't actually know what every boss is going to throw at you. We're going to pick up Wishing Star here, which actually gives Gino a revive spell. So not only Peach, but also Gino has a revive. So it'll be a pretty safe, or a pretty nice safety net later on that will make unwinnable situations at least winnable in some aspect. I'm going to put Mario back in since he's 5 levels above everybody else. So he's going to start hitting real hard. Like I said before, the level cap is 50 in this, rather than 30 for vanilla. It used to be 100, but it got pushed back down to 50. But it's the same damage or leveling curve. So like everything has roughly the same stats as if it were 100. It's just a lot easier to get to level 100, basically. It's more of a quality of life change. And even with level 50, you'll be going into the post-game around that level. The post-game content works in such a way that it works into itself. So there's no additional level grinding. It's just understanding and interacting with the gimmicks. That flower there actually is worth 5, which makes that room really not optional. A lot of the flowers that seem like they may give 1 or some sort of paltry amount actually give quite a bit. So we're going to do the password here, and it's Johnny. Yes, Johnny, not Pearls. I played the remake quite soon after this, and I was like, wait, the password isn't Johnny? What? So Zombone here. Yeah, Zombone's here. Just kind of showing up. The mini boss was swapped out for Zombone here, so we don't get the Squiddo. But luckily, that means Holy Gems will just crush through the 3 lives pretty quick. Every 2 gems is 1 life, 3 lives total. GG no Ray Zombone is dead. Oh, we've disappeared into the darkness. Nice. 1 more, and that should be it. Looks like I can't count. There we go. Pick up a few more levels here. But we need to make sure to get the lucky ring toggled around every once in a while, so that we can keep both Mario and Peach at higher levels. The next few fights here, unsurprisingly, the underwater enemies are weak to thunder, so we can pretty quickly get through Johnny and his minions. The Johnny fight is tweaked a little bit. I'll go into that once we actually get there. But for now, we're just going to have some nice movement here. Overall, just avoid all the extra nonsense and just speed through this as quickly as possible. I'm trying to minimize the amount of encounters we get. Honestly, a couple of these rooms are very hard to get through without getting caught. The rats in one of those early rooms are deceptively fast, and I've seen Sonny and some other runners get caught more than once. And that jumping down that watery stairway is also pretty rough sometimes, and you can end up accidentally jumping into the fish or the star, depending on the position. Throw out a Thunder Gem here, and just pop, done. These strats are a nice relief from having to pound through orbs and give you a chance to kind of recover your stamina a little bit while keeping everything pretty consistent. So we're heading into Johnny here shortly, but we have another couple of sharks to take care of. And by take care of, I mean we're going to throw gems at them, and that'll be the end of that. So Johnny's a unique fight. In the vanilla game, you normally go out of your way to avoid setting it up so that you have to fight Johnny 1v1. As long as you don't kill all of the ads in the fight, you can kill Johnny in the group fight, but if you kill all the ads, Johnny will 1v1 you. That's not how it works here. Johnny will always 1v1 you, so we're not really worried about it, so we just kind of throw the gems out, and then we'll get the 1v1 fight anyway. So we're just optimizing the fight as much as possible. Luckily, the gems will make this fight a lot more reasonable as well. We could just as easily do this with Thunder Orbs, but this just is much quicker in terms of setup and not as stressful on your hands trying to keep up the 30 inputs needed for each orb. Instead, it's just 2 quick Thunder Gems. But like I said, if you're at all interested in, I think it's really nice that these go so quickly, so there's at least still some surprise if you want to pick it up and try it. Obviously, you can do the gem thing if you're going to play this casually, but I think it kind of defeats the purpose if you use the same exact speedrun route. The enjoyable part is figuring out how all these fights function and interacting with them. With Luigi there to give you a kind of a short rundown of how every boss works and all the backup mechanics like Rosalina, reviving you after a boss fight rather than just game overing. Really, you only need to use the save box when you're done playing for the day. This game is just really wants you to engage with the content in it and enjoy it. There are, obviously, as with everything, easy ways to work around a lot of stuff, much like with speedruns. That's what we do. But this is a really fun experience. So the first time I watched it, I was actually kind of taken aback by how thorough this was and how much fun there is to be had. It's a well put together hack that has a lot to offer. But we have to give up the star here and fight Yardovich. Yardovich would normally be a very dangerous fight. As we mentioned before, each one of the Smithy baddies that steals the star has a ultimate attack that they perform after a certain period. Yardovich, I believe, does it on turn 3, so after their second turn. Luckily, however, Yardovich only has enough lives for 6 ice gems. So we get to take 3 turns before their first, 3 turns again before their second. So we managed to get out enough ice gems to stop the ultimate attack from going out altogether. So it simplifies this fight extensively. Otherwise, it would be quite the nightmare. In hard mode, you can't get away with this. So Yardovich has to be handled completely differently. Not sure what marathon it was for, but I believe Necro has a very good world record that shows off hard mode and all the difficulties that exist. Looks like Necro had to bow out, though, unfortunately, so it'll just be V for the time being. Yep, easy peasy. This guy is very scary otherwise. So we're going to go talk to the Elder and free them. Here on out, it's basically just level up simulator as well, and map movement. Honestly, that's one of the places where Sony excels the most, so that's the really enjoyable part about watching this run, is watching the pretty good movement overall. Because having good movement's one thing, but having good and quick movement is a completely different thing. Especially ducking and dashing around enemies. If your movement's consistent, you can get around it, but to a newbie like myself, it seems very magical watching somebody do good movement. So this is another story flag. We have to head over here and talk to this guy. I believe... No, I'm wrong. I'm not going to say anything. There's a lot of places where Daisy is kind of placed out of the way or right next to where we spawn. So we would go out of our way to talk to Daisy for the FP boost and the refill, but that's not one of them. We can also, there we go, snake onto that platform if we do the jump properly. This movement actually is really tight to get through. Good job, as usual. So the little flower jumps here. Super cool. This is also a little bit awkward. Once you get on these platforms, you're kind of stuck. All you have to do is hit jump. But jumping onto that third platform can be a little bit rough, and it's a nice little time save. So this is RNG, the room. All these rooms, depending on how fast these little guys pop up and how long it takes to spin before we can get into the actual whirlpool. That's unfortunate. So, like I mentioned before, we can get a guaranteed run, but this is one of the places I was talking about where the bees get to take their turn first. So we do lose a fair amount of time having to sit through their animations. But because the game resets us back to our values before the fight, The only punishment is the time loss of having to watch each bee attack us before we ran away. It's part of the reason that speed ends up being so important as well. In some instances, that's a bit unfortunate. Yeah, we're basically at the mercy of the whirlpools there. They have to move and then settle for us to actually take them to the next area. It's a nice quick one. So we will be heading out that back path, but not quite yet. We actually have to head over to Monstro Town and Land's End here. So we need to take this other Shogun fight. We also got to remember to throw in the lucky ring here, because there's a few stars that we can pick up. And grind some EXP here. Looks like Sony's remembered the lucky ring. There we go. Royal Crown will give us a nice defensive boost. The Galaxy Apple there is basically a apple, just like any other of the Final Fantasy games that will increase our max HP. There's a little bit of a lag here. That's kind of why we're stopping. It's not like an intentional thing. So we're going to kill all those guys with stars, do a few level ups, and then get a few more levels here. Fortunately, Bowser's really never going to see too much use. Fortunately, though, there is the Sonic Shell that we will be picking up shortly on the way up to Monstero's Town and Land's End. And that's going to make Bowser very valuable in a certain sense, because the massive speed boost will actually make it so Bowser will always go first and will help manipulate our turn order, or Sonic Shell, excuse me. Let me take a quick look at how much agility or speed that actually gives. Yeah, so it's 60 attack, 70 defense, and, you know, just a casual 90 speed. It's quite the buff. The requirement, however, is being fairly good at the Koopa minigame, and by fairly good, I mean really good. But we'll be getting there shortly. Axum Red's going to get in our way here for a moment, and that accounts for all of the Axum Rangers. Unfortunately, Axum Red has an allergy to holy, so bye-bye. He's got... Oh, actually, he's not weak to it. That's bad. I'm lying again. Yeah, Axum has no weakness. The reason we're using Holy here is because the animation's the quickest. That's why. Luckily, I have access to the notes here, so I can cross-reference stuff. And at least call myself out if I'm a lying jerk. And that is the 30k for the life point, per the life. So now we get to move on. But yeah, we got to be very careful about making sure we have the lucky ring on for certain portions, or else the power leveling won't work out the way that we need it to be. And once again, we did go over it earlier too, but this is a unique level up screen that's much quicker than the vanilla. So it makes this a lot faster. And on top of that, it remembers, so it stays on the same thing, so you can just go through it fairly quick. One of the things is, I believe this community allows turbo, so it actually makes these menus a lot easier. It's not like a major thing, because you can't use turbo on the orbs in any significant way to get a benefit. It would actually cause you to miss more orbs than anything else. So it's just basically used for mashing through text and level ups, and I think a few other odds and ends like that. It's just one of those nice quality of life things that keeps you from destroying your wrists. It's definitely something I support in communities. We also want to go up there and talk to the star because we have to, but the star gun is also a very nice bonus to get out of it. That will give us a nice DPS bonus, DPS boost on Peach. I believe the world record is 250. I want to say 255, 256, something like that by Necro. It's been a bit since I've seen Necro run, so I forget. But it's sub 3 hours. Sawny is one of the only people with a sub 3 hour time, and Necro has pushed normal quite far down. It's 253. Excuse me. Thank you. Yeah, Necro has quite the commanding lead, but Sawny really does love this, and he's been trying to push it down. He just hasn't had the opportunity. Unfortunately, he sent his SD to SNES out for repairs, so he wasn't able to grind as much as he would like to before this. I just got it back a few days ago, and there was another run of a different SMRPG hack that he performed for another marathon just the night before this one. So he's been having to split his time a little bit between the two. But yeah, this minigame here comes with that nice reward of the Sonic Shell. It's a Bowser-only equip, but it gives a really big stat boost, and that 90 speed will move Bowser from being extremely slow to the fastest character that we have. Yeah, Rayan-esque is the other one. I believe we did it on the Final Fantasy Randomizer channel, but I'm a little bit sleep-deprived at this point, so I can't fully remember. He's the only person that runs that one, though. It's kind of one of those older shitpost hacks, but that relies on the super jumps, so it's more in the vein of vanilla, just with some reworked fights and a custom map that's not well done. We're going to head back here and start picking up some more gems. Gems only go so far. Yeah, Doom is the co-creator of the hack and is very involved in the community. Although, from my understanding, v10 is intended to be the final version, unless something major needs to happen. You'll notice we got snagged by the bees here, but we actually got to take our turn first. This is part of the reason why we get the Sonic Shell, so that we can get out of these attacks early. Or get out of these battles as soon as possible. Smilex here hopefully will go pretty quick, but we'll see. If we do this correctly, we're actually going to shuffle when we push the boss phase, so that we can do all of our attacks immediately to just one-shot right after that. A lot of the fights are something we have to be very cautious of as well. So like we Ice Gem, block, wait for the boss to take their turn, and then Ice Gem so that the next phase that has more heads dies all at once, rather than... So we only have to deal with 3 attacks rather than 4. So that's phase 2. Should be one more phase here with 3 heads. Then the final phase will have 4. So we're going to Ice Gem here. Going to block to let them all take a turn so that we only have to deal with 3 attacks here instead of 4. And then we're going to proceed to Ice Gem, kill this phase, and then Ice Gem 2 more times to prevent the next phase from getting any damage. You will notice that like our HP is pretty high here. Honestly, no matter how many times I see this, the HP values kind of mess with my head, and I see like 1,000 damage, and I'm like, well, we're definitely dead. And no, we're not. We have like 3,000 more hit points. But yeah, this will clear up all the heads so that we have to deal with shorter animations overall. But as far as I know, out of ROM hacks or modded versions of the game, outside of like randomizers, this mod probably has one of the most active speedrunning communities. Overall, where like the only other thing I'd say that's anywhere near as popular as this is like randomizers, because of as some of my friends put it, it's speedrun crack. Yeah, luckily we have enough HP. Yeah, AK, you die, yeah. Missing... Oh, we did mention it earlier, but just in case we have some people in here that weren't here earlier, the system does maintain the guarding mechanic for either single target magic attacks or physicals. However, we cannot fully prevent damage even if we hit the perfect timing on guards. We will only reduce the damage a somewhat significant portion. I believe it's to 25% if we hit the perfect timing, and 50% if we hit the sour timing. But with the amount of damage things do, guarding becomes very, very important. You can't become functionally invincible, but you definitely can survive a lot more. Luckily, in normal mode, even casually playing, it's not a must skill, but it definitely makes your life a lot easier. For hard, you really need to be on top of perfect blocks. There are 2 different versions of this, the normal and hard. Normal is more fun, and hard is just that hard. So if you're looking for a different experience, this is worth playing on normal for sure. Something I haven't done yet, but I would like to get to at some point. But since I focus on Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth, I'm learning that right now. Unfortunately, is monopolizing all my time. But the vines there can be pretty rough to move through, honestly. The fastest way to move through the vines is jumping up. It deals 1/8 damage. Okay, throwing a perfect block. Oh, 1/8 when guarding in perfect block. Yeah, that's a little bit different. Yeah, mostly we guard to skip turns, but there will be some instances where the enemy is going to use a party-wide attack that we can't otherwise reduce the damage of, so we will need to use guard to reduce that. We come in here and grab a Mighty Guard. This is a new item. It heals all HP, grants attack up, and casts Barrier and Auto Life on every character. Auto Life, obviously, reviving you instantaneously at full HP. Let me make sure. There's some new status ailments in this, and the Barrier buff will, you see here, negates status ailments. Yeah. Want to make sure that I'm giving the right information and not the wrong one. There are some things that remove it, like Dispel and Black Hole, but Barrier, in general, will keep our stats from getting reduced outside of moves that outright remove every buff. Quarter by quarter, yeah. There's a lot of different items in this that kind of take the place of, in addition to Caracola, red essences, and things like that. There is the item that we'll be picking up a little bit towards the end of this area that functions sort of like a red essence, called the Manifest Illusion. It's an exceedingly rare item that will give you, I believe it's 15. Let me double check here. It says 20, but I believe that it's actually 15 perfect blocks when you use it. It may be 20. I'm not 100% certain. Basically, it'll just make sure that every attack that can be perfect blocked will be perfect blocked. So we will be using that in the final boss fight as a safety measure so that we don't crack under the pressure. Yeah, it says 20 on the wiki, but I remember it being wrong for whatever reason. Luckily, Necro does have a route on a wiki that I'm referencing right now that will help keep me on track. It's something that there's a lot of community tools to get into this. Yeah, well, it is a wiki for a fan game, so it's a little bit, sometimes it's incorrect. But honestly, with the amount of new things that are in this, it doesn't hurt to look at this because there's a lot more granular information that will make your life a lot easier. It'll talk about enemies' weaknesses, resistances, different status effects that aren't in vanilla. The Manifest Illusion says 20 perfect guards, but I believe it's 15, right? That is what we were asking about. It says 20 for both normal and hard, and I'm not sure if that was just something that got changed, but you forgot to update it, or I'm spewing misinformation, or fake news, as they say. But yeah, there's a lot of new status effects and items that it's worth looking into if you want to play this. Yeah, it's spreading misinformation on the internet. Who would do that? So once we do get to the boss, we actually will do a hybrid of gems and attacks. But it's this is where we start getting away from gems soloing everything for us, at least to some extent. It's mainly because we're starting to run out, and it does take a while to go re-up on those. Also, we have to chew through a lot of bosses, and they have a lot of HP. So we're kind of in a weird spot. Plus, the other power items are monopolizing some of our slots, like the Mighty Guard and the Manifest Illusion. This minigame is a little bit harder. Dodo will be sped up. And it's very important to not mess this minigame up. If we do get hit by Dodo, it will reset the minigame back to the very beginning. And also, we get hit by a very lengthy cutscene. I have yet to see Sawny mess up. Dodo isn't sped up? Well, it's more so this last part. Right, where Dodo wraps around. At least I thought Dodo was sped up. Maybe I'm... Oh, there you go. Doom said it. I'm wrong. Dodo isn't sped up. Dodo's going vanilla speed. It's 1:55 a.m. for me on the East Coast here, so forgive my misinformation spreading. It's not intentional. It's 15. Okay. Sounds about right. Yeah, normally you see Dodo cross through the blank part of the room, but in this you don't see him come around from the opposite side. That's why I was saying he's like sped up, quote unquote, because he moves. It's changed in such a way that you don't see you don't see Dodo loop around from the null void to the other side of the room. Yeah, I saw it initially, and when I was prepping for commentary with this, and it's just something that I've acknowledged that is the state of being. But as it didn't really affect anything, I didn't really bother pointing it out, because it really only affected comment. It looks right to me. Okay, Doom. V11 coming soon. Updating Manifest Illusion to the proper 20 perfect guards instead of 15. Or, let me guess. Oh yeah, it does look right to me now. Mod privileges on a wiki? Stealth updates, nobody knew. Now I'm the liar. So Birdo here is a pretty straightforward fight. We're just gonna spam some gems as usual. Yeah, maybe it's just a lack of sleep. I'm just I'm lying through my teeth here. We also picked up some new armor to increase our survivability. There's no overpowered armor in this game like the I believe it's work pants that give a slight attack and speed boost. Outside of the Sonic Shell, most of the armor is just... There is one for a little bit of attack, I believe, and one for defense. And we're favoring the offensive armor rather than the defensive armor. If I remember correctly. That's why updating it every now and again is nice. Helps boost our damage. Oh, that's a bit weird. Not undoable, just a bit awkward. Sleepy Bowser. But yeah, Geno Beam is also considered a holy, which is super nice for any bosses that are weak to it. Is it? Am I lying again? I could be lying again. That's right. What it is that Birdo's just not weak to anything in particular. Just kind of using our best DPS here to push through. But yeah, Bowser gets to see some use, fortunately, because of the Sonic Shell. So the speed to get first strike is important. We're going to be pivoting back to Mario here for the boss, though. At this point, Mario is very overpowered, as you could tell from his levels. He is much stronger than the other characters. So he's reached a critical mass where we can take advantage of those extra levels, assuming we can make it through the... Oh, that's unfortunate. This room is pretty hard to snake through, to be honest. Oh, that's double unfortunate. That's what I get for saying something, commentator curse. I'm just making the bad luck manifest at this point. Oh, well, okay. I mean, I guess we can just say hi to him. But yeah, the running is 100%, fortunately, so getting into a fight is purely a time loss, not a risk. It's a very fortunate change that makes this a lot safer. And because our stats get reset to pre-fight if we run away, we really lose nothing from getting into fights. We don't even like get slowly drained down on our HP. Yeah, we're just testing the hitboxes to make sure they're still there. Wouldn't want them to be gone or anything. Yeah. Honestly, that's probably one of the most cursed parts about RPGs, is especially ones with random encounters. And dealing with randomizers that allow you to turn off the random encounters have made me feel completely differently about random encounters in general. Games like Super Mario RPG, where you can see the enemies so you can actively avoid them or be ready for them, I think is really probably the best design choice that some devs have made in the early game eras, versus like just getting jumped by something as you're walking around on the map. This gives you some sort of agency in each and every fight. So I'm gonna grab a star here and do some murder. We did also throw in the question mark again for that speed boost. This is one of the fights I was talking about. It will speed up Mario enough so that we can get a turn off immediately once we do set that up, actually. Just got to put the question mark on Mario. There we go. And we want to make sure we have the amulet on Gino for the boost. Yeah, KGG was very unfortunate, Sonny. I wouldn't worry about it. Yeah, that is kind of the cursed thing about doing a marathon run. You take a death to something awkward or weird, and it kind of throws you off for the whole run, and can kind of sour the whole experience. That's the unfortunate side of not being able to do commentary, because you really can't bounce off of the other commentators and get back to normal. You're just kind of stuck in your own isolation chamber. It's actually a blast doing commentary with Sonny. It's very fun. It's unfortunate that the way that the setup is for this, it does not work out too well, unfortunately, because there's a big delay. So I'm out here doing my best to shout this out. So that's the reason we wanted the question mark, so that we could get that Thunder Gem out early and just be done with Dodo. Depending on the luck we see here, we could actually save a little bit of time. Valentina has some very particular attacks that we would like to see. I believe no white hole is what we're looking for. That'll make this a little bit easier, because we can actually set up a boost and get enough damage through. It may actually be white hole that we're looking for. I'm not 100% certain, because it's been a while with this fight. Yeah, we want to set up the Geno boost, so it's no white hole is what we're looking for. So we want to boost Mario here so that the zap orbs. White breath is not white hole, so I don't really care. We want to use some thunder orbs here to clear out Dodo. And some thunder gems as well. Should do 30k. Oh, that's a little bit short. That's unfortunate. I wonder if that's a consequence of a missed orb or the missing that early magic level. This will clear, though. Ooh, that's really low damage. Very unfortunate. Yeah, jump here will clear, though. Both dropped orbs and that. Yeah. It can be hard to execute on the orbs in a frustrating situation, that's for sure. This is a very awkward set of turns that we've got here. Luckily, Group Hug will fix the sleep. So we just got to hit all our orbs here. Looks like we're going to be struggling for damage overall for the rest of the run. There we go, hit the 30k. A couple of gems will clear this up and we should be fine. I want to say one of these can OTK, but I'm not 100% certain. So it looks like we're going to have to be on our P's and Q's since we missed that one magic level. We're going to be struggling for a little bit of damage, so we have a little bit less leeway on the orbs, unfortunately. Normally at this point, like, you can miss quite a few orbs and get away with it. Oh, the equips are messed up? Yeah, that makes sense, too. Some of the accessories are, and their boosts are incredibly important. It's one of those things. When you run RPGs, you kind of understand, like, some of the items would be like, oh, this is a 5% bonus, and you're like, that's neat. And you go through the game and you never really notice it casually, but when you put it in a speedrunning setting, those small things end up being quite massive. Yeah, I don't know. Gino should have the wake-up pin. I don't think that prevents instant death. Oh, yeah, SMT, definitely. That game is 100% based on the bonuses. Like, buffing and debuffing are incredibly important. It's a very good example. Thank you. SMT has such a unique play loop compared to most other RPGs. It's actually kind of interesting. Okay, wake up pin does? Yeah, it has immunity to sleep. That makes sense. So we're going to head back down the hallway here. And you may have seen that galaxy coin. It's kind of an indicator that there's another hidden item at the very end of this hallway. There's a hidden chest that has that manifest illusion that I was referring to earlier. We're going to grab the galaxy coin so that we have enough to buy all the stuff that we need. And also the manifest illusion as well, so that we get those free perfect cards in some of the endgame fights, specifically for Smithy. Yeah, that sounds about right. Necro having a critical mass of runs has led to him having to see probably more weird points of failure. So, I know we picked it up. Let me see if it's included here somewhere. Because the Royal Crown is actually like a very important equipment, but I gotta see, is it linked in here somewhere? I think it might be later. All right, we will be picking up the Manifest Illusion, which we did there. We also will be picking up another very important accessory here shortly. Did he not grab the Manifest Illusion? I was looking at the notes. Uh-oh. Well, I mean, he could go back for it. It's definitely worth going back for. Smithy is way too random. It's just going to cost us some time going back to get it. But not grabbing it for Smithy is a really bad... Yeah, I think you go back there before Bowser. So all we'll have to do is loop through again. It shouldn't be that big of an issue. The star here is more so just to make sure that we can keep consistent movement without having to worry about getting bonked by an enemy. Nice jump over the fire. Head over here. Pretty good movement overall. Yeah, I think you go through that hallway 3 different times. So you can grab it later. Should be able to, at least. That's unfortunate. Luckily, we get the first turn here, so we can just move. The crystal ring is actually extremely important here. I'm going to actually pull that up so I can talk about this item. This item is 50 attack, 80 defense, but the more important part is it gives instant KO protection, 50 magic attack, 50 magic defense, and half to all elements. So it will be an incredibly important defensive item to have on our accessory slot that will make a lot of fights doable. Not even just reasonable, but doable in general. The amount of damage that it will prevent is really big. So we will fight this R Dragon here, just no Zombone. Yeah, upgraded amulet, very good. Yeah, pretty much. That's a good way to put it. It's an amulet on drugs is what it is. That 50% cut to all elements makes things just very reasonable in general. So the Zar Dragon here is unsurprisingly weak to ice. We're going to fire off 6 ice gems here because we have 3 lives. That's 1 life. Boop. And then there's no reason to hesitate here because Turn will wrap in a way that will boss will only get off 1 turn. 2 lives. We got 1 more to go. And Mario should be 49 after this, so we have to make sure that we're fine. Also, one of the things you'll notice is we've never gotten any freebies. I believe freebies are not possible in this at all. Everything is pretty consistent across the board. Or at the very least, freebies are incredibly rare if possible. Oh, that's an unfortunate play. Grabbing the HP there is going to make the final boss fights a lot more dangerous. For the most part, we just need power to push through everything. So grabbing an extra HP there will be a little bit... Freebies are when the enemy misses. That's one way to look at it. That's your freebie, is a miss. You're lucky you get those. So having the 2 HP levels is going to really interfere with our damage. So we're going to have to be very careful about how we handle the end game. It's not impossible, but we're most likely going to have to go into unexplored territories. Yeah, they don't miss on hard. Yeah. We're going to have to go into some unexplored territory and be very cautious about these fights. Luckily, the next few should be pretty straightforward. It's very unfortunate that Mario is the one missing levels. If it were other characters, it would actually be less awful. The main reason that it's a big deal that Mario is short levels is, as I keep pointing out, Mario has access to all elements. And a lot of the end game are weak to different elements, so Mario, in a lot of cases, is the only one that can deal damage. Especially with Smithy. Smithy's final gimmick is cycling through different elemental weaknesses and absorbing the rest. So in some cases, Mario is the only character that can deal damage. And hitting that 30k is going to become very difficult with the lower magic levels. So it should be doable. It's just going to be pretty hard from here on out. Unfortunately, the extra HP won't really make much of a difference, if at all. Unfortunately. We should be able to, at the very least, get towards the end of the game. Worst case scenario, we may have some safety saves to use. Not 100% certain on where we have them, though. So the Rangers here are all weak to the original weaknesses that we were using on them before. So if we organize the gems in the proper way, we should be able to get through them pretty quick. So first target here is we want to get rid of yellow ASAP. So we use the ice gems to clear that. Now we no longer have any conflicting weaknesses. So we'll be able to gem in a particular order to clear the rest of them consistently. The thunder here will clean up pink. And now we are only stuck with black, red, and blue. So we're going to have to take a few attacks here and use a group hug to heal back up. And then we'll use a Holy and Fire Gem to take down the last two. Youth Bomb. This is fine because the group hug will heal this. But yeah, we want to use a Holy and a Fire Gem here to take down the other two. And then we're going to be heading into Blade, who has a wholly new gimmick. Blade is a pretty bulky boss and strong against every element, so we need to focus on just doing damage here and less on elemental weaknesses. So we're going to be needing to use something we really haven't been using very much up till now. We want to use Jump and Geno Whirl. Like I said, both of these have static damage and ignore defense, so that's going to be our main way of DPSing down Blade. We also need to be mindful of our FP too. If we didn't pick up the backup FP by now, we're going to be a little bit low, so we might have to shroom an additional time. Or syrup an additional time. We are at 47, which is fine, so we have the right amount of FP for the rest of the run. So yeah, we're going to use Geno Whirl, which is physical, that ignores defenses. It's the same as Jump. Jump should be doing 11.8. I think we were at 11.2. So our damage is going to be a little bit low. We need to supplement it somehow, and we'll do that with a attack from Peach. Okay. 11.6. Yeah, we're a little bit low, but the physical attack from Peach pushed it over. Nice. There you go. So this run will be a lot more difficult than the end game, being short a few magic levels, especially because I believe the end game levels have a much more significant emphasis on damage boosting. The leveling curve with this one is a little bit different from vanilla, so it's a little bit hard to kind of measure specifically which levels. So if you're familiar with vanilla, the certain levels will have incredibly high, and by incredible I mean like 4 points, 3 points of a stat bonus, and some of them, most of them will be 1 for that like physical or magic attack. This has a different curve altogether. Obviously, it would have to be a bit different with 50 levels over 30. But also, since it's 50 levels instead of 100, we end up missing 4 levels if you really want to like math it out versus like 2. So our damage is going to be a little bit screwy. And as long as we remember and compensate for it, we should be good enough. Luckily, there's a lot of turns where we just guard to just avoid animation, so we hopefully should be able to supplement the damage. We're heading back through here to grab the circlet, which is a very big magic attack bonus. If I remember correctly, it's basically the upgraded amulet. The crystal ring is amulet turbo prime plus plus. The circlet is very good though, however. So we're going to head through here again and grab the Manifest Illusion on the way out, as well as the Galaxy Coin if we didn't already. It depends. Some people may grab it at a different time. We will be headed over to Bowser's Keep here, which is luckily not immediate that we get forced into it. Probably faster to drop. Okay, yeah, I guess we can walk it back out. It's fine. But we're going to head over to Bowser Keep, but we're actually going to head back to Mushroom Kingdom because we're not forced to head into Bowser's Keep, even though the the bus drops us off there. We could just leave immediately and head back on out to upgrade our gems one more time. At this point, we're going to be grabbing another 5 fire gems, 8 ice, 3 thunder, and 2 holy to round out our gems to get us through the next few fights. We're reaching a point, though, where we can't just gem our way through every fight. We need to have a more sustainable source of damage. And it turns out boosting and then doing attacks just gives us more consistent damage. And since we have 3 party members, we can usually DPS down with 2 characters and have the third either supplementing or using syrups to refill our FP. If you're not familiar with this game, the FP pool is cumulative across the entire party rather than everybody having individual MP points. So everybody pulls from that same pool of FP or MP if you're more familiar with that. So any person can refill the entire MP pool or refill the FP pool by just using a syrup. We don't have to target individuals to reheal, which is an interesting system that kind of leads to a different play style in this game compared to other RPGs where you more heavily focus on some characters being magic and others being physical, so that you don't have to bother trying to keep both stacks, both characters full on MP. Heading back, getting the 5-8-3-2. There we go. And we're going to head into Bowser Keep. One of the things you may know about Bowser Keep is that it normally is random, and you can pick some between different doors. The Bowser Keep here is set up to be consistent, and the room order is always the same. So we're only needing to interact with these specific rooms every single time. There's no randomness to it. So get good at these rooms, and your life will be easy. We also have to be very careful here. As much as I don't want to be a commentator curse, we do need to buy some things here, and every time we fall in the lava, we lose about, I believe, 500 coins. We can take 2 or 3 dips in the lava, but we'll be very tight on money if we do any more than that, and or we might not have enough to buy what we need. So we need to be careful about that. Luckily, I think this is the last lava room. So once we clear through here, we'll be fine. There are some nice items in these chests, but they are not worth getting in a speed run. So we're just going to leave them be. Especially when we have access to the gems that we specifically bought for the next few fights. This room right here is can be a little bit frustrating. The bombs can just kind of snake you without you realizing it. All right, we got through that first try. Nice. Okay, I was wrong. There is one more lava room. Ooh, oh, you're trying to give me a heart attack. Please stop. The switch puzzle here is pretty straightforward. The room after this will be the ball puzzle, but the ball puzzle is actually changed so that the solution is actually different, to the point where when Sonny does like a randomizer or another mod that uses the vanilla ball solution, it actually throws him off, and he has to like remember how to do it correctly, because this one has a completely different solution, because it's starting with those upper corner ones missing rather than the center one missing. Just got to be careful here to make sure that we don't orphan any of the balls and have to do it again. Looks like Sonny has the solution correct. Yep. So this next room, we're going to sell off most of our stuff except for the circlet and the question mark to get some items and upgrade to the royal dress and the barrage vests. as usual, we're getting those for a little bit of a bonus in terms of attack versus the old ones, and a little bit of extra defense. Every item in this is, it's kind of like there is the defensive or the offensive version, and obviously we've been going with the offensive choices for armor. So we wanted to set up the crystal ring here on Mario to heavily reduce the damage, the circlet to further increase Peach's magic power, and amulet to give Geno a small boost. But yeah, Boomer has 2 lives here, so once again, the game is to hit that 30,000 and head on through. Holy is nice, though. It's a lot less input heavy versus orbs. Luckily, you can just charge it, so you get a little bit of a break if you see Holy as the enemy's weakness. Luckily, we have enough damage to do this in 2 cycles, so we don't have to make any improv here. Just stick to the same old strat. Exor coming up is a bit of a unique fight. We actually do need to debilitate all of the other parts so that we can actually hurt Exor here. As in vanilla, you would only need to disable, I believe, 1 eye. Yeah, which will so we'll use 2 fire gem and 2 holy gems to get all the other parts down so that the mouth will be vulnerable. And then from there, we will be using Geno Whirl, but Geno Whirl, like I said earlier, functions like Jump. It just kind of does a flat amount of damage and pierces through defense, physical defense. It doesn't have the critical property that the vanilla Geno Whirl has. So it's more of a consistent damage source that's physical rather than magical in a way. Whereas the Geno Whirl here can crit the eye because the bits, basically the internal mechanic that would make the boss resistant to an insta-kill move is not implemented properly in vanilla. And they continued that into the remake, so it is still a applicable strat. Here it is not, though, obviously, because this is a complete rework of the game. Heading into the end game here, things are going to get really, really dicey. A lot of these fights are very difficult and take a very large amount of concentration, as well as being on point with guards as well. So that should clear both the eyes. Still got to go through the mouth, though. That is a lot of damage. Luckily, we have more than enough HP. Geno's going to boost himself here, and then we're going to set up for some Geno Whirls. Throw out 1 extra ice gem here. That will do a little bit of damage. And then we're going to rely on Geno Whirl here. As I mentioned earlier, the damage that you're seeing is not 158,000, it's 15,800. There's actually a little decimal in there. We're definitely not hitting for 150. And every life that the boss has at this point is 30,000. It's more or less a function to massively upgrade the enemy's HP. And the life pool being capped at 30k is a symptom of the way that the game is programmed. And it makes it more consistent between the bosses. It could actually be a little bit higher, but 30k is just the best number. It makes sense. But as a consequence of that, if we do like 15,000 to a boss, and then we do like 5,000, then do another 15, that additional damage doesn't go to the next phase. So we have to deal in modular sets of 30,000 damage. So if we do over damage that 30,000, the damage is just lost. So it's just a numbers game where we're trying to hit that 30 over and over again as consistently as possible. But we're going to be heading into gate here where the rubber meets the road shortly. We're actually going to be doubling back to the Star Hill here for 2 things. Rosalina is going to give us a Holy Hammer, which is Holy Element, and gives us a nice, juicy magic attack bonus of 50. So it's extremely useful. Not so much for hitting things, but that magic bonus is super, super, super nice. We're also going to be using our Galaxy coins here to buy 12 Energizers, which are the attack up item in this game. Excuse me. We do want to grab a royal jelly here on the way through. Also, there is one interesting thing here as well. There's an additional checkpoint that was added into the map that doesn't normally exist. It was quite a annoying thing to program, but it's a nice little add-on that allows you to warp to a different point other than the beginning of gate. You also can warp to the beginning of factory as well. So this mod goes the extra mile for a lot of quality of life stuff, as well as being very well balanced and thought out in general, as is evident by the 10 versions of it. So Cloaker is not a pushover. Cloaker and Domino are actually separated into 2 different boss fights, and this guy hits like a truck. If we don't block his attacks, we're more or less dead. So we have to be very on point with our guards here, at least until we get everything established, and then Gino can go down, and it'll end up saving time. But first, we want to get that boost off. So that's why we actually let Gino just bite the dust there. It is, depending on how things are going, it's probably a decent idea to keep Gino up, just so you have a different, separate punching bag. But a confident runner will let Gino die, so that you don't have to waste time on the defense, using defense with Gino. But it does also present some inherent risk of leaving you in this situation where your HP is fairly low. So getting Gino up here is a good call. If Peach accidentally dies, Gino can revive Peach, because Gino also has a revival item. But luckily, all we did was just kind of delay the turn. We brought Gino back up. Yeah, Peach is pretty much gonna bite the dust here. So this is the best call. Oh yeah, I forgot about this. Yeah. Cross cleave is guaranteed, so that was a very good option. And as long as we're mindful about how our HP is, we can do the same thing again. Gino. Gino has a life spell, just like Peach. So you're not completely out of the game unless that happens. Neat. Yeah, to be fair, Cloaker hits like a truck. And the problem is we don't have enough damage to kill Cloaker before the ultimate attack that hits everybody. So we will probably need to keep Gino up and supplement the damage somehow. Oh yeah, he didn't equip the Holy Hammer. Yeah, that makes more sense, actually. Like I said before, the Holy Hammer gives a massive plus 40 to magic attack. And because magic is so consistent and the only variable is based on you, like, doing the prompts correctly, your damage kind of sucks. As you can see there was a massive difference. Luckily, this is more or less the same situation. Peach goes down, Gino uses the gems instead. Okay, no. I can't believe he survived that. Yeah, Cloaker is not playing ball, unfortunately. So we're going to take the cross cleave here and just die. There's not much we can do to recover this situation, unfortunately. We're using the attack here to guarantee that we take full damage. Guard otherwise would reduce it and just slow down the dying. Once again, though, luckily the Rosalina backup here will revive you prior to a boss fight, as long as it's not cake or the one dungeon where that's part of the gimmick. The save blocks are really only needed if you are going to actually finish your play session. I've seen quite a few runs die to Cloaker. Unfortunately, this boss is pretty brutal, and considering the amount of DPS Cloaker can throw out, if you don't perfect guard everything and or decides to kill the wrong character, it can be very frustrating to deal with this guy. Especially since we're at the point where a lot of these guys are hitting really, really hard. It's fine, it's fine. We just gotta get through the fight. Worst case... Yeah. We're fine, Don't worry about it. Just keep going. The big problem, too, is, like, we need to be guarding every single attack. And not, like, with the sour timing, but with, like, the sweet timing, because the DPS on Cloaker is just absolutely ridiculous. We should be good to go here, I think. I should be counting damage, but I'm letting Sawney do that. Yep, there we go. We're through Cloaker. Cloaker is one of the more big difficulty spikes and skill check, whether you like it or not. But that's one of the hardest bosses. Yeah, unfortunately, Sawney is not having a super good run. The game is throwing him some curveballs, and we've missed a few power-up levels, so our stats are a little bit lower than they should be. Yeah, Cloaker's a block check. That's a good way to put it, for sure. If you can't hit block timing, Cloaker is going to be an absolute nightmare for you, for sure. Gotta shuffle around our crystal ring and circlet real quick so that we have the boost on the character that's going to be doing most of the damage. So Domino, let me double check here. Yeah, Domino is resistant to every element. So the only way to do damage here is going to be switching to physical again. So we're going to need to be using a combination of Geno Whirl and Jump to get our DPS here. So using Energizer and Geno Boost is going to be incredibly important. Or Energizers, excuse me. Luckily, Peach really isn't required for this, so we can use her group hug to constantly try and out-heal our damage. So we get in a cycle where we should be able to out-heal what we're taking while still pushing out the amount of DPS we need to. Gonna throw in a physical attack here so that we can hit the life in the proper turn order. That pushes life 2. Now we're gonna be heading in for life 3. A jump, a physical attack, and a Geno Whirl should push us through. And seeing 3K just throws my brain into a microwave. I'm like, that's too much damage. So we need to make sure we push through these lives, so that's what we're trying to prioritize now. As long as we can get through this next life, we should be fine. Yeah, because we get a black hole turn here, which will remove our buffs. And then we want to throw out a Energizer and follow up to kill Zargun for a little bit of extra damage. Follow up with Jump, and that should finish this fight off. Nice. So unfortunately, things don't get any easier from here. We're going to have to stay on our toes for the rest of these fights. The entirety of the factory and the gate are just a huge difficulty spike. they're by... I would say they're not, like, in-proportionately too difficult, but they are definitely much more difficult than the other enemies in the rest of the game. Since you're expected to be max level at this point, we're kind of running into a wall where over-leveling really isn't carrying us as much as it used to, because we're intended to be max level here. So we need to be very shrewd about the strategies. One of the nice things, Geno has Geno Shock here, which is a full-screen lightning attack. So that will give us access to a few different elements. A lot of the bosses in this area have gimmicks where they either cycle weaknesses and resistances. So we do need to be very cautious about what elements we're throwing out and paying attention to whether the enemies are taking damage or not, so that we can effectively kill them. It's more so Smithy's gimmick at the end, but I believe there's one of the bosses that do that as well, leading up to the end game. But these final bosses are so complex, I can't be 100% certain because I forget, honestly. So the Toad gives us a last chance to top off on all the stuff that we need. So we're going to get rid of all of our extra garbage. Give me 1 second here so I can blow my nose and you guys don't get your ears. So we top off with some royal jellies here so that we have enough FP to get through the next fights. A couple of caracolas for safety. The Toad here tries to give us a few life shrooms, but we really don't need those. Life shrooms will revive us, but right now we have the both Peach and Geno to revive. If we get in a situation where both of them are dead, we're probably boned anyway. So the life shrooms really won't do too much outside of prolonging the inevitable. And it might be faster to just bounce off the fight and go for round 2. So yeah, Director here is going to be a little bit more difficult. We need to energize our Geno to get set up here. Geno Shock to get rid of the hammers. That'll speed things up a little bit. Set up another Energizer here to buff Mario. And then we want to skip a few turns to get our turn order in the right. Actually, no, it's because Peach doesn't have any offense here. So we want a Geno Shock again to clear the hammers, and Holy with Mario to start damaging down, and then continue the loop until we get through all 3 of the lives. We are keeping an eye out for any negative status effects. If Geno gets put to sleep, we need to group hug. So we need to be careful and be ready with a royal jelly if such event happens. Right now we're on poison, which is fine. We'll just lose a little bit of time till the poison ticks. But because when we leave this, we'll get our stuff back from the boss fight. It doesn't really matter. That's unfortunate. So we group hug here to heal the sleep. Luckily, Group Hug not only is a party heal, but it also removes any negative status ailments. So it'll put us in a nice position to recover a otherwise unwinnable. Luckily, it really wouldn't have mattered there, but it was better to play it safe because the fights have been a little bit unfortunate this run. But we need to put the amulet on Geno before we head into the next fight, which we already have. As much as it sounds like I'm backseating, Sonny's 20 seconds ahead of me, so I couldn't save it if I wanted to. So we're headed into Factory Chief and Blade 2.0. Yeah. So we don't have the mold dispenser, whatever you want to call it. Now we've got a second blade. And this is the first experience of barrier shift. Unfortunately, that's the gimmick for some of these final bosses, where they're just weak to different random elements. So first things first, we want to get rid of the factory chief here because we know what their weakness is and get them out of the way before they start turning this into a much more difficult fight. We should be able to clear Chief here fairly shortly because it's they only have 2 lives. That should be 1 down, unless I'm somehow unable to add 22 and 11. We're going to group hug here to get rid of the negative status effect. The healing's just a fringe benefit at this point. We want to throw up a beam for holy damage. So one of the very important parts is Mario has all 4 elements: fire, lightning, ice, and holy. Peach has holy. Gino has holy and lightning. So that's unfortunate, but we still have Peach to revive, so it's not that big of a deal. Just got to get the Chief out of the way here so that we can start recovering. We've got to be careful here and get our FP back up too, because we're using quite a bit, unfortunately, to survive this. This isn't even really that much of an issue in comparison to the issues that we were having before. This is more so a symptom of the endgame having a massive difficulty spike, even in normal. So we need to figure out the weakness here. We really would like to see holy, which is what we got. So that's 1. So this should go fairly quickly since he's weak to holy. We would holy with all 3, but we should be out of FP at this point, so we need the jelly to refill and cycle. So we're going to defend here. We could just YOLO an attack, but whatever he attacks with is what he'll be weak to. I believe ice, he'll be weak to ice. Yep. As much as you would think it would be the opposite, like ice would be weak to fire, lightning and holy would be opposite or something like that. That's not how it works. They're weak to the same element they use. That is unfortunate. We still have 2 lives, so this will take 4 turns. Man, that stinks. This right here doesn't matter because we missed so much lethal anyway. We do have some ice gems that we could use to round out the damage, but we need those more for some of the later phases. So I think we're holding off and just trying to finish this up with ice orbs instead, because we're basically in a winning loop here, just a slow one. I'm more concerned about Smithy at this point than anything. So yeah, we're going to have to defend this out and see what we get. Unfortunate. That would have been the best. If we had gone holy into holy, this would not have been a problem, unfortunately. Ideally, if we had gotten both the magic levels that we needed, 30k would have been a foregone conclusion. But unfortunately, I guess Ice Orb has a pretty low multiplier, while Holy hits a lot harder. Because the weakness multiplier is the same regardless of what element you're hitting with. It's always going to be double damage. So, unfortunately, we're going into quite a difficult fight here. The difficulty has been ramping up steadily and rapidly. The next fight, we have Axum and Friends. Initially, it looks like it's just Axum. We're going to do some initial setup, but we want to get through Red's life here. So we're trying to set up Holy to clear Red, and then he will summon his friends, Mac and Boyer. And then we'll follow up by summoning Yardovich, which is quite frustrating, that we have to get through all this. And all the meanwhile, Red will be sitting in the back, throwing rocks at us, which is quite frustrating, making for very much one of the more difficult fights in the game, where not only do we have a gauntlet, but we also have an unkillable enemy doing additional damage that we can't influence in any significant way. So Red is weak to Holy, so that's what we're going for. Mac and Boyer will have 3 lives each, and they're going to be fairly rough to get through. They're more or less the same as they were initially, except with a much larger HP pool. Obviously, if you remember back, Mac will be weak to Lightning, and Boyer will be weak to Holy. Geno Shock, since Geno got all of his levels correctly, Geno Shock should 30k Mac, so we can get through that pretty consistently. Not 100% sure if Mario's Holy will do the 30k to Boyer so that we can get through this phase as swimmingly as we'd like, but we'll have to see when we get there. We're going to take a second here to think before we start acting. These fights are too complex to really just jam through things. The amount of confidence that you need to just blow through this is fairly rough. So, as I've mentioned, they have 3 lives. That works in increments of 30. So, healing Boyer here, okay, good. We have enough damage to just burst through like we're supposed to. So, even though we did the Geno Shock, that took care of one of Mac's lives, but healed Boyer, but Boyer can't have more than 30,000 HP. So, if we work it in this order, Geno will take a life, then Mario will take a life, Geno will take a life, Mario will take a life, and we won't be healing anybody in general. So HP, luckily, is still pretty decent. We're going to focus down Boyer here, as you do. We want to Geno Beam to clear 1 more life, and then we want to use Holy to clear Boyer completely, get him off the playfield. So that's 1 less attack we have to take. It's either or. Since they both have 3 lives, we can't clear them in 1 turn. We could try and do that with Mario, but that's not the strat. So we could go Mario, Peach, Geno. The problem is that we need to micromanage our FP, so the routing is very specific in which attacks we use and in what order. Unfortunately, we do have a bunch of empty turns where we do guard, but that's because we want to have a flexible character to change things up. The only thing I'm worried about here is that Thunder Orb should finish, but I'm not sure if it'll do enough damage. Hopefully it does. There was a drop in there. Oh, that's... We're in a really... Okay, good. Orb is high enough damage. Nice. Good. So it's only ice and fire that we really have to worry about, which is kind of unfortunate, but it is what it is. So Red is going to get back into the fight here, so we need to clean him up as well. I'll be using Geno Whirl here to clear, and Holy from both Mario and Peach. That should clean up Red's second life. Note, magic attacks can be blocked, but party full screen or party-wide attacks cannot be. So the damage can only be stunted by using the guard command or just with our raw stats. Outside of any accessories that would reduce our elemental damage, like the crystal ring that gives a half cut to all elements. Luckily, however, the physical attacks can be guarded. I did go over this earlier, but just in case, physical attack guards are not perfect. So it's not that Sawney is missing the timing here. It's an intended mechanic in the game that it only reduces the damage to 25% if you hit the perfect timing and 50% if you hit the sour timing. There's a window for attacks and blocks that are the intended perfect quote-unquote timing, and then sour, which is being off a little bit one way or the other. That will impact how much physicals do, whether they're doubled or 50% damage bonus, and same thing with defense. The magic spells, however, have a very set amount. Ooh, that was a little bit greedy. Not sure if Sawney lost control of his controller there or was being a little bit snotty with the inputs. It can be a bit hard to maintain full concentration at this point, to be perfectly honest. You usually don't need that many ice orbs to clear Yardovich here. It's also quite possible his cat just bopped his controller out of his hand or something silly like that. The unfortunate life of being a pet owner. Sometimes you get trolled. IRL RNG is very strong. So Yardovich, we need to be aiming for that 30k number. Now we're through the first life. Unfortunately, we wasted an extra turn on it, but it'll be fine as long as we hit enough orbs to clear a life each time. There we go. That's 2 lives. We have 2 more to go. We're going to be a little bit deeper into his turn cycle, so it'll be a little bit spooky to see what we get. We're going to throw out a couple of ice gems just to speed this up. It is in the Shroud. The ice gems here will clear an additional life because it does 15k for each, hitting that 30k magic number. And then this ice orb here should clean up the last few lives. Or the last life. Unless I don't know how to math. And he grew an extra life. Yep, out of lives. Nice. Alright, so everybody should be at max level. We need to make sure to put the Royal Crown on Peach. This is incredibly important and will increase her survivability extensively. Yeah, that's fair, Sawney. Doing 1 Smithy attempt is reasonable. Smithy is the slot machine to end all slot machines. So the way that this fight works is the first phases are guaranteed to be the same. But the final phase, Smithy will randomly roll a weakness to one of the 4 elements: fire, lightning, holy, or ice. And because of our party comp, we have 2 characters that can do lightning, we have 3 characters that can do holy, 1 character that can do fire, 1 character that can do ice. So if we see fire or ice, that kills pretty much any chance at world record or even PB in most instances. What we want to see is holy or thunder. We really would like to see holy because the holy multiplier seems to be a lot higher than thunder, and I'm not totally sold that thunder orb, even at max level with Energizer, can be enough to push through here. But this is actually the fight that we grabbed the Manifest Illusion for. We won't be using it immediately, I think. I could be wrong here. Yeah, we're going to use some Energizers to get everybody set up. The Mighty Guard here will give an attack buff, full heal, and status protection, plus an auto revive, which is super nice. And we're going to Mighty Guard Mario as well. And then we're going to proceed to get rid of Phase 1, which has 2 lives. We want to use Peach Beam, Geno Shock, and Illusion to clear here. Or rather, we use Peach Beam and Shock to clear the enemies and a life, as well as the Manifest Illusion to set up for the perfect guard. So a lot of this is getting rid of ads to make sure we minimize the amount of damage we take, and setting up the Manifest Illusion. So Manifest Illusion is kind of the rock candy for the run. Or not rock candy, but red essence, excuse me. Red essence normally in this game gives you 3 free turns of being unaffected by anything. So you can't take damage, your stats can't be lowered, your stats can't be increased. That is extremely powerful. So the dev went with a different option here and used the Manifest Illusion instead. And what that does is for 15 attacks, you get guaranteed perfect blocks. So it won't zero out the damage, but anything that can be blocked will be perfect blocked, so it will cut the damage by a third. Or a down to a quarter, excuse me. The one thing about that is, unfortunately, if you roll a lucky miss, it will also eat the Manifest Illusion activation, unfortunately. But 15 should be enough to see us to the end of the fight, or at least to a point where we should be in a winning position. The next phase here, we're going to get dispelled, so we need to energize her again to set everything up. And then basically we need to spam Holy and jump, and then loop in group hugs as needed, so that we can maintain a positive flow where we can push through Phase 2. Phase 2 has 6 lives total, so it's going to be a fairly long fight, but luckily there is no RNG in this outside of like the attacks that we receive. We don't have to worry about elemental RNG. to completely throw off whether or not we can actually output enough damage. The damage should be smoothed over a little bit, but some of the attacks could still hit a little bit low. Jump has a set damage that doesn't cap, so its damage may be a little bit lower than we want it to be, but as long as we're consistently hitting that 30k magic number, we are fine. That is all we want to do, is we want to hit 30, 30, 30, 30 over and over again until we're through all 6 of these. So right now we have 13 on this life. Actually, I've got to pay attention here. Holy hits for... I'm going to actually do the math because I should have been doing it the whole time. 10k. So it looks like all 3 together are going to be needed to get a life. So it really doesn't matter that we're a little bit short here anyway. Because this should hit, yeah, for 18. So it's just below 30. Unfortunate, but... we got to get through all 6 here. Oh yeah, we missed an Energizer there. One of the nice things you'll notice on the upper portraits, there's little indicators of things. The flashing is the status immunity. You'll notice a little sword there that'll indicate that the attack stat is buffed. And the little star there indicates that there's an auto-revive on the character. Unfortunately, and unsurprisingly, the auto-revive will revive you without the active buffs. So if we do die, we'll lose the status protection and the attack up, but we'll get our character back up immediately, which will keep us in the fight. Gina, you get to keep the buffs? I could have sworn it removed them. I'll take your word for it, Doomsday. You're the one that programmed this, not me. Yeah, so this is the reason why the buff is incredibly important. Notice that the Echo Finder there could have been catastrophic because we wouldn't have had any way to deal damage with Gino. So we would have had ways to turn on group hugging or caracoling, any sort of way to remove the debuff. Looks like we're getting pretty close. I think we're through at least 4 lives, right? I think those are the death throws of Phase 2. Yeah. So we're in Phase 3 now. We have 6 more lives, and the boss is weak to 1 of 4 elements. At this point, we don't bother waiting, we just YOLO. Since the Phase 3 starts at any sort of weakness, okay, not weak to Thunder, that's maybe awful. We're hoping for Holy here, to be honest. At this point, throwing out attacks really isn't a bad idea. That's so awful. That is beyond horrendous. So, okay, we got Ice. This would be the end of any PB attempt, 100%. Ice is pretty bad here. We need to use Ice Orb to deal damage. We can supplement that a little bit with gems, but at most we'll get through 2 lives if we're lucky before he shifts again. Because Mario would have to one-shot here, which is probably not going to happen. Yeah. Even if Mario had max magic level, I don't think he can one-shot with fire or ice. So we can use an ice gem here to smooth out the damage and at least take a life. So now we only have 5 left, but we're pretty much at the mercy of the game for now. And now I think we're out of ice gems too. So one of the things is the orbs is a major skill check to some extent. Ooh, that's rough. Yeah, we really aren't doing that much damage. The orb count has been buffed to 30 inputs instead of 15. And it's not a matter of just mashing out 30 more inputs. There's actually a rhythm to it. So getting consistent orbs can be quite difficult. Fortunately or not here. Oh, that's very annoying. In the middle of a life. I guess we just throw a holy and pray, huh? Holy, please. Please. No, you bitch! I'm sorry, I can't contain myself. Oh, we're gonna see fire, aren't we? Okay. Are you... You're laughing, right? You're having a gas? This is a joke? Ice into ice. That is... Just dreadful. Just absolutely dreadful. So, like, this RNG is extremely bad. Yeah, so I think we got through a life here, finally, but we are definitely out of ice gems at this point. We got 4 lives left to go. And on the worst element, too, so we're in a really, really bad position, unfortunately. And there's just nothing we can do about it. Yeah, we have to guard ultimatum, otherwise we die, as you can tell, because Peach is about to bite the dust. If you don't guard, you're dead. Luckily, we have Wishing Star on Geno, so this isn't a losing position. It's just not a favorable position. Oh, we can also let the other 2 die instead of group hugging if we get to that turn. Yeah. Insta-kill on hard? Oh, that's just rude. Okay, good. We have a Caracola. Nice. That's much better than waiting for Peach's turn. You take double damage? Yeah, that makes sense, actually. So you basically can't survive that without being at max level and guarding. You wouldn't have enough HP. Well, I guess you would if you were a wild enough animal to take HP levels throughout the course of the run. No, not on hard. I'm talking about normal. That you wouldn't survive this on normal without being at max level or have taken some HP levels. That's what I'm talking about. The current category. Trying not to confuse it too much. Yeah, luckily max level is pretty much guaranteed. Max defense Bowser? Interesting. So we're praying for anything other than ice, but the game is taketh away right now. So we're doing our best to stick in there and survive and finish this. That should be 3 of the 6 down. But we really want to see Holy or Thunder here. This is just an untenable position at this point. He's bleeding us slowly but surely. The other thing, too, is we only have, like, 49 FP, so we're rapidly diminishing on the syrups here, too. That's the main downside to seeing ice like this or fire. Mario's damage is just awful in general. If we had at least seen ice fire, we could have at least leveraged the fire gems we still had. But seeing ice into ice was just a slap in the face and a kick in the teeth. Thanks for not using an element, jerk. I really would have liked to know what your weakness was. Ah, there we go. Okay, we should be able to win at this point. Holy is the best element because everybody can use Holy. Oh, he used Holy? Okay, I'm blind, deaf, and dumb. Sorry. Oh, my guess is Holy? Okay. It's one of those situations where it's like white or pearl or whatever. It kind of threw me off. I didn't realize that was Holy Element. Now we can actually start clipping through these lives fairly quick. This was an impressively cursed Smithy. Oh, that was the last life. Of course, we get Holy right on the last life. That's neat. Super neat. I mean, Sony, this run is pretty rough, but I gotta give it to you. You push through every roadblock, regardless of how frustrating it was. And that is a really good thing to see on a marathon run. Because letting the game break you really sucks. It really sucks. So it was good to see you push your way through a very tough run. So I've seen, you know, I do stuff for RPG Limit Break, and I've seen runs just absolutely break a runner's spirit. It's very hard to get forced through this stuff. Yeah, marathon runs are a whole different kettle of fish, unfortunately, that are very, very hard to compensate for. I did a bunch of Final Fantasy VII Remake runs before RPG Limit Break, and my Limit Break run was by far the worst marathon run I had ever done of that. All I could do, though, was sit there and enjoy it with commentators. And that was kind of unfortunate, where you had to be stuck on your own, listening to us 20 seconds later. But you did a really good job pushing through it. This is a really, really fun hack. If you do like Super Mario RPG, I would very much suggest that you play through this. What you're seeing right now is a small portion of the game itself. And there is a lot of post-game content. So, yeah, if you, yeah, we are a little bit behind, so if you guys want to move on with the show, that's fine. I'm good. Sonny is probably pretty frustrated, and I don't think I would give him a microphone right now. I'm probably going to get a call and listen to all of his frustration here shortly. Thanks for having us on behalf of Sonny. We're really glad we got to show this off. I'm glad I got to do commentary. And I will kick it back over to the marathon so you guys can enjoy the next run. I'm good to go whenever you guys are.
All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Mega Man 7. We're just going to go ahead and get started. My name is Papat.1. I have my good friend Terex here on commentary. Say hello.
Hello. I'm Terex.
Welcome. All right. So Mega Man 7 is the classic Mega Man game that was released for the Super Nintendo. There was the earlier run by Mr. Cab, Rockman and Forte. That was a Japanese exclusive release. Mega Man 7 was released worldwide. But yeah, this goes into the same classic Mega Man formula that we all know. Oh no, it's the wrong helmet! Whatever will we
What are
do?
you talking about? This is the correct helmet.